clot vibes. It's a blood clot vibes. Where's it, family? Selah Shalom on the ones and twos, just chiming in. You know how we do. It's a blood clot vibes. It's a blood clot vibes. I'm out for know what the beat is. Yeah, man. It's one of my beats I make, you know what I mean? You know your boy's a producer, you know what I'm saying? I got that production, son. My shit is more melodic hip hop though, you know what I mean? I ain't too big on the trap sound, but I respect it. I'm on my melodic, peaceful vibration, on some street shit. I'm with the headbanging shit, the head busting shit too, you know what I mean? I'm a hip hop head, man. I ain't one of these niggas that get woke and then turn against everything, you know what I mean? I still listen to MOP, nigga, Mash Out Posse. I still listen to Cool G rap, Cool Gangster rap. I still listen to the real hip hop, man. Ain't one of these niggas turn righteous and just, oh no, we can't listen to that no more. Fuck out of here. I deal with the real, I don't deal with that fake shit. Salute to the righteous gods and goddesses. It's a blood clot vibes. What's good, family? Before we get started, you already nizzle.
Bitter sweet herbals. What it tastes is bitter, but the results are sweet. bittersweetherbals.com.
Run the rhythm.
Bitter sweet herbals. What it tastes is bitter, but the results are sweet. bittersweetherbals.com.
Yes, family, make sure to get your bitters. I ain't got no particular topic today. I just got through filming a set. We're working on a season finale for Atlanta's Ugly, Season 8, 2.0. We had an excellent day. This shit gonna be crazy, you know what I mean? So the inspirations is running high right now. So I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good. Let me go live, although I ain't got no particular topic. But let me holler at the people, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You got some questions in the chat? Run them. Let's start build. Let's build. Discussion today. We dealing with. Yeah, yo, shout out to the God Malachi Mac went live earlier. I didn't get a chance to finish it. I see he was going in on some of these knuckleheads out here. I guess you got some knuckleheads out here disgruntled with the Owaspi. Saying all type of outlandish things. Don't know what they be talking about. I mean, instead of getting in the ring, you know what I mean, and letting your nuts hang to show you if you a a real man in that. These niggas want to hide behind a goddamn keyboard and be, you know what I mean, keyboard gangsters instead of coming out on the motherfucking battlefield with your knowledge. Defend your God, nigga. If you got a problem with the Owaspi and you think it's demonic and all that, defend your God. Come, bring that shit to the table. You wouldn't dare bring that shit to the table. Because for the time that niggas been going hard, me, Cosmon, Cal, Malachi, Maccabee, Daryl, Cosmon, the shit we got hanging over you niggas' heads with that biblical God, you wouldn't want to get in the ring, especially not with me. Now that shit hanging over your head. Now that biblical shit hanging over your head. Huh? Y'all niggas, you seen the last video with the priesthood. You know what I mean? Y'all niggas is influenced by the Canaanites. Y'all niggas is the Canaanites. Right? Might as well be you practicing their customs. You know what I'm saying? Misha, what's good, Misha? That's my homegirl right there, yo. Sister Soldier, that, you know? Lioness, you understand? Warrior spirit, I am. You know what I mean? Yeah, we rolled it up right in front of the kids, nigga. What's good? What up, kid folk? Lucia, what's good? So we got some vegetarian Levites that feel the need to, and you know what? It's funny you brought that up because I was just talking to Melly about that. I said, look at that, Melly. I said, you got Nazarenes and these sayings that supposed to be dealing with a higher vibration because they deal with the dietary law, right? But it's funny that when Mally, when I say Mally, I'm talking about the brother Malachi, Maccabee, Honoring Humility TV, when he brought out the Owaspi, it's like all these so-called spiritual gurus or these spiritual Essenes and Nazarenes, some of them, not all of them, some of them, they rock with us. But you got those few that got an issue with the Owaspi, and these niggas supposed to be vegetarians, supposed to be vibrating on a higher frequency, but they got an issue with the Owaspi. So that to me, that shows that the dietary law has no place, because if you niggas is mad over a book, when the book is telling you to become vegetarian, the book is telling you to ascend spiritually, the book is showing you about these different deities and expose these deities, what they did in the past, how they affected you, how they created these religions. And then it's showing you a creator behind all this. So how can you be mad at that? How can you go up against something like that? You feel me? How you gonna go up against something like that, y'all? They can't. So being that they can't, they start saying slanderous things like, that book is demonic. Y'all niggas is wicked. This, that, and the third. Soon as a nigga start coming at me like that, I said, nigga, bring that shit to the table. Nigga, bring it in the ring. Fuck the chitter chatter when you want to debate. Niggas don't expect you to come like that. So when they get that direct punch to the face, they like, wait, that wasn't part of the game. You wasn't supposed to hit me like that. You were supposed to go back and forth with the shenanigans with me. But when you hit them niggas with that, nigga, let's debate it. That cuts all the bullshit out right there. If you about your business, nigga, you would have been like, nigga, let's debate it, nigga. I put my God up against that Owaspi. That's what you niggas supposed to be saying. Look how we talking. Bring it, nigga. Each one of you niggas want to debate your God, the biblical God against the Owaspi, nigga. We saying bring it. If you want to debate Islam or law against the Owaspi, bring it, nigga. If you want to debate the 120 lessons against the Owaspi, bring it. If you want to debate the Kemetic literature against the Owaspi, bring it. That's what we saying. We not running. Nigga that ran in Sinetta, the toughest environment, niggas ain't found me a motherfucking challenger yet. Called me on the folks twice, first with Naphtali and them. We agreed for the debate, then they called back bitching and complaining or whatever. Then he called me back with G-Con. He backed out. You know what I mean? Then when I was live a couple times, Zoriaki, them boys backed out. Then the last person was, he called me on the phone and said, yo, I'm going to try to get Nepal on the phone. I'm going to call you back because her time is this. Never got the call back. I come to find out she debating Christina Nick. So I don't went to the toughest environment and nigga, ain't nobody step up to the plate. So I don't want to hear shit. I don't want to hear shit about the Owaspi and niggas is scared or niggas running or this book is witchcraft when we calling you niggas out for the debate. Challenge information. So nigga, I'm good over here. I done motherfucking became the championship without even having a fucking debate. Niggas done forfeited and ran. We got 2 forfeits. Naphtali forfeited and G-Con forfeited. How did Black Jesus get the belt over the Basanetta? Polite forfeited, and he was so-called a king, right? So I'm the king of FOP. I'm the king of whatever G-Con represent. And any other motherfucker who denied the debate or backed down, I'm the king of their motherfucking castle, nigga. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? What they gonna come against? Show these niggas that they God is an angel and not the creator. So who you worshiping, nigga? Who you worshiping? Sarnetta over there cutting these niggas to death, talking about these niggas admitting the rape in the Bible, had divine prospect admitting the rape in the Bible. A high intelligent brother like that got to stoop down to the stupidity of scripture and try to defend it. And Sarnetta looking at you, playing y'all niggas. But if y'all was on the Owaspy level, the higher vibrational frequency, y'all wouldn't be looking bad like that, bro. Y'all may be looking bad in another way, but not like that. You feel me? Angel, I see you. Sharice, I see you. What's good? Stephanie, I see you. Ken Z-Rock, I see you. Iman, I see you. What's good? And Honorary Ability STL, I see the family chiming in. We just vibing out. No particular topic. You got some questions, throw it out there. Or if you want to come on the chat, I ain't got shit going on. I'm just chilling today. I'm going to leave the link in the motherfucking chat. Excuse my French. And if you want to hop on and talk some shit with the God, holler at me. Holler at me. I'm here, man. Here, enjoy my spliff after an excellent day of filming, nigga. I'm in good in spirit. Can't break my peace. That's the link. Anybody want to come in? Anybody want to come in? You know what I mean? We can build. If you believe in that biblical God and you think that biblical God is the creator, call in, nigga. I've been beating up your biblical God for years now. Somebody come defend their God. Somebody come lift their God up off the ground. My nigga Lucy, I should have known he was on tap in. Because this brother right here gives an excellent build. Peace, God. What's good?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Peace, God. How you feeling today?
I'm good, bro. Just over here chilling. You know, hot outside. You know, trying to stay cool.
Man, you was not lying, bro. I was out there filming earlier, roasting. I think I lost at least 3 pounds out there just sweating. So Lucy,
yeah, man, we got some. Huh? Go ahead, bro. My bad.
No, go ahead. What you about to say?
No, I was just saying, like what I said in the comment section. It seems like we got some vegetarian Levites. Because I don't really want to call them Essenes or, you know, Nazarenes or Ebionites.
Right.
But they need to. Because I was on that cat, whatever it is, the Malachi was going back and forth with Essene, Nazarene, whatever the hell his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed I went back and forth with him real quick because he was I didn't even watch the video that Malachi shared in the little group chat that I got y'all in or whatever. So it's like I watched some of it and I just noticed all he was going in with John Bellanubro. He wasn't really going in the contents of the Owaspy. It's pretty much what all these cats do. They just come at the author and they got this mentality that if they can expose John Bellanubro being this white Freemason, blah, 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 be under the trance and this, that, and the third, that they dismantle the Owaspy. They don't ever go into the actual contents of the book. I go into the contents of their book. And I was showing you. I'm like, all right, you talking about all this shit about witchcraft and dark energy and talking about what is it, clairvoyancy and this, that, and the third. I said, bro, if you look at your Bible, right, your God is over here asking for child sacrifice. And when he's asking for child sacrifice, I think it's like in Exodus 22 or something like that.
Matter of fact, if you know the chapter and verse, I could pull it up.
Yeah, hold on. I got you. One moment.
Yeah, you can still build while you're looking for it, though. You can go ahead,
Yeah, it might cut off. I mean, I'll be on, but it might put me on mute. But it's cool. I'm on now. But if I be quiet, like, you know, if it goes on mute, you don't hear from it went on mute.
Well, if you tell me the chapter and verse, I can pull it up on my end.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes right now. I got you.
Yeah, nigga, we on the next of these fake biblical gods and these fake biblical Hebrew Israelites claiming to be. And see, you know what I mean? Y'all following this God, and we exposing that this God is not the biblical God is not even true God. See, the Owaspy gives us a true God, rightful ruler of the heavenly kingdom under the authority of the Etherian hosts who are under the authority of the Creator. It gives us that system in order. Then it gives that system in order that there's a false God, a God who breaks away from true God, creates his own kingdom with followers, and declares himself as the Creator. We got that in the Owaspy. We got both sides of the coin. So it's like, nigga, y'all just got one side of the coin. Y'all got one God telling y'all what to do, but y'all ain't got nothing else to contrast that. Go ahead, Ken.
It's Exodus 22:29, chapter 22, verse 29.
Let me pull it up real quick. Let me pull that up. Yes, sir. Exodus 22, verse 29. All right, Ben,
Yes,
let me put
sir.
it up on the big screen. See, we don't play over here, son. We sharp over here. I've been trying to get Lucy a debate for the longest, nigga. You and Devon would have been a good one. But Devon's scary. He gonna run his ass off and come up with some excuses.
I
All
think
these niggas
Divine
know
actually wants to debate Owaski Cat the way that he was talking. I just don't think he wanted to say it. I seen that little video he had with Sanetta. I seen the little video he had with Sanetta where he was out in the park. He kept saying he wanted to.
Yeah, Sanetta cut him up. Sanetta cut him up. I'm like, nigga, Sanetta cut you on your own book, nigga. So I'm like, bro, let's stop playing games. All right, let me read it very quick, and I'll let you elaborate after I read it. Exodus 22, verse 29 states, "Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits, and of thy liquors, the firstborn of thy son shall thou give unto me."
And when you read the last two verses, right, like after 29, I know it's not on there, but
I'll read it real quick.
Yeah, you can go to the full context, and you're gonna see, because it starts right there at 29. I think there's about probably like 2 more verses or a verse more. There is no ritual substitution. Now I can find similar verses that say the same thing, but they have ritual substitution, something about breaking a lamb's neck, or that you have to redeem the firstborn.
Right.
That's basically what you're supposed to do. So you don't sacrifice your firstborn son. You're supposed to redeem your firstborn son. But in Exodus chapter 22, verse 29, there is no ritual substitution. You're supposed to give your firstborn son. There is no redeeming your firstborn son. And I brought that up to him to let him know that this is the falsehood of your scribes, because one scribe saying you have to redeem your sons, another scribe's not saying that. You have to sacrifice your son. You're supposed to give your son. There is no ritual substitution. I'll go to the other verse where you have to actually. So Exodus chapter 13, verse 2 and verses 11 to 13, it says, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn, whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both man and beast, it is mine. Says the law of the firstborn. It shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers and gives it to you, that you shall set apart the Lord at all that open the womb. That is every firstborn that comes from an animal, which you have." You can hear me, right?
Yeah. I got the verses I got the verses up while you read it.
It says, "Which you have, the male shall be the Lord's, but every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck." And look, you over here breaking animals' necks and shit. Like, "And all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem. So it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, What is this? That you shall say to him, By strength of hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And it came to pass when Pharaoh was stubborn about letting us go, that the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn man and the firstborn of beasts."
You went out, King. Your mic went out, King.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, it goes out.
You was at verse 15.
It says, "And it came to pass," I'm just looking at your screen now. It says, "It came to pass when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beasts. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem." See, redeem.
Right.
But in Exodus 22, verse 29, there is no redemption. So what's going on here? One scribe's telling you redeem your child. Another scribe's telling you it's not mentioning no redemption. There is no ritual substitution.
Interesting. Hold on, let me get two pages of that open. So
then you have Exodus 34, verses 19 to 20.
Exodus, you said Exodus 34?
Yeah, Exodus 34, 19 to 20.
All right, go ahead.
All right.
I got it on the screen.
All that openeth the matrix is mine, and every firstling among the cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, thou shalt break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons shalt thou redeem, and none shall appear before me empty or empty-handed. So you got two scribes telling you, or maybe the same scribe, you shall redeem your sons. But again, in Exodus 22, verse 29, there is no ritual substitution for your child, for your firstborn at least.
Let me go back to the Exodus 2:29 real quick.
Exodus 22:29, and you can even go to the full context of it. See if anywhere in there's a ritual substitution.
Now, explain a ritual substitution for those who may not know what that means.
As a substitute, you know what I mean? You substitute with, instead of sacrificing the child, you would substitute, I guess, with an animal.
Okay,
You know what I mean? So you're not sacrificing because you're supposed to give the firstborn because of whatever happened in Egypt with the firstborn.
So now, like on verse 29, thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits and of thy liquors. The firstborn of thy son shalt thou give unto me.
Now, how do you give them unto the Lord?
As a sweet savior.
Exactly.
Hell no. So you're trying to tell me that. And you know what? It do make sense in a sense because there is proof that these niggas was rendering up sacrifices to their children. That's what right here. Let me pull up my little.
So you can tell whatever scribe is writing that shit's influenced by Baal. We know that because we read the Awaspi.
Right.
Them cats don't know that.
But you know what catches me? You know what got me pondering that though? Because when I did the joint yesterday about the priest, the Levi priest, whatever, you know, in Jeremiah, it talks about how the Lord did not command that. Now I'm thinking, I'm being naive though, but I'm like, yo, who's to say that's just another false god saying that I didn't tell you to do that practice as a false god? So that's like Baal telling Jeremiah, like, yo, I ain't command you niggas to do that coming out of Egypt. That was Moloch. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So are we still thinking that, Jeremiah's speaking some real shit because he said the Lord said he ain't command that. But that still ain't enough. There's still some wiggle room there. So we're like, all right, well, if the Lord of Jeremiah is Baal, and at the time they came out of Egypt and Moloch was the one the Israelites was inspiring, that could be an offense to Baal because he's like, damn, this nigga Moloch got inspiration of the children of Israel when essentially I really want that inspiration over them niggas. You see what I'm saying?
Real rap.
Oh, hold on, where you at?
It's real rap.
There you go. All right, yeah. So I was just like, yo, that's just, you know what I mean? That's just getting a little deep because, you know, the Bible don't explain who these lords or these gods are. But then when you read the Awaspi, even these false gods make promises to their chosen ones or their hosts, and they'll tell them that, yo, we're going to go against these set of people over here doing these. You know, I want you to kill these heathens over here. They're an abomination to me and mine. You know what I mean? That could just be Baal talking about Ashtaroth up north.
Real rap.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy, yo. But now, what you think about the Canaanite, the Leviticus influence of the Canaanites? What you think about that? And how, you know, like how I showed they had the holies of holies and the temples already in Canaan prior to Israel even being established.
I didn't watch all your content on that. I'm a little bit on the fence about that, to be honest with you, bro, because my research from the things that I've read and how I research, I'm under the impression that the Levites, because the cult started in Egypt, according to Awaspi, they were already in Egypt because that's all the Israelites and the Levites are. They're two different cults of people. The Israelites are a little different. Like at one point, the way the Awaspi talks about the Israelites is like a race, but then it talks about them being a cult because you got to remember that Kohath, I think it was Kohath, he wasn't originally an Israelite. And the Awaspi, he had to, I think he got to the third degree of a Nubai or whatever, and that's when he was able
to marry a faithless woman and shit. Some shit like that.
He had to marry a faithless woman or what have you because something about the fourth generation or the third or fourth generation.
But you know what? I'm being naive. I wasn't because that whole presentation, you notice I didn't even reference. Well, you ain't see the whole thing, but I didn't reference nothing in the Awaspi. I just kept it on the terms that they on with the Bible and just dealing with the history. You know,
that's what I figured you was doing when you did that. So I wasn't sure. Like, is he just? That's why I didn't really want to say nothing.
I was naive on that one. I was holding them accountable to their own doctrine because I didn't reference nothing in the Awaspi in that particular one. I was just showing that historically and based off the literature, you know what I mean, this is where y'all influence came from. But we know from the Awaspi that Moshe wrote the Leviticus law. And sure enough, they came out of Egypt and they spent 400 years in the wilderness compared to the 40 years. Because I didn't mention nothing about the 400 years in the previous video because they ain't up on that. You know what I mean? But I'm just going by what they know. And just based off of what their book and the history is telling us that, look, this prototype can show that it's influenced by Canaanites.
It's real spill. I mean, at the end of the day, it is. I mean, the Egyptians they did receive spells from Canaanites or whatever when it comes to like snakes or what have you.
I remember years ago you was talking about that. If you could go back and do that research and show how the Canaanites influenced the Egyptians on that would be killer.
I don't think I ever did a video where the Canaanites influenced the
You
Egyptian.
spoke on that though. You spoke on that years ago when when niggas was touching on
Okay.
these topics. You brought that up. I remember.
Okay. But my whole thing is I'm under the impression that they were, at least some of them were Egyptian priests that sympathized with Moses, probably because of when they seen the plagues. The reason being is because if you look at all the tribes of Israel, the Levites are not a tribe of Israel, but if you want to consider them one, that's fine. But they, culturally speaking, they're the closest to the Egyptians. All the patriarchs of the Levites have Egyptian names. Hophni, Moses, blah, 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 blah. What else? Because I'm got all this information in my head.
No, you're right.
Also,
They spent 430 years, or they spent 400 years in Egypt. So coming out, they will definitely have Egyptian customs.
oh, the reason why I think they were Egyptian priests, one of the main reasons is when you look at Korah and his rebellion, right? With Moses and Aaron. Levites were in competition with each other because not all Levites agreed. The only Levites that had the priesthood were the Aaronites. They were the ones to be chosen to be the priesthood.
Right.
That's from the perspective of the Aaronites. That's the priestly guild. If you look at Deuteronomists, the cats that wrote Deuteronomy, Kings, or what have you, they will have you believe that all Levites are priests, and that's not the case. So you could already see in the text, within the text itself, there's a rivalry with the priestly guilds.
Right.
My only thing I can think of is why there's a problem with them not accepting Aaron and them being these high priests. They were the only priests. All the Levites that weren't, everybody that wasn't from Aaron were just servers. They minister unto the priesthood. The only ones that were able to be priests in general, were those from the line of Aaron. From my research in priests in Egypt, the priests in Egypt never really dealt with the common people. They just dealt with the temple, whatever, dealt with the gods. They held high status in Egypt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You'll never find a priest in Egypt being slaves. With that being said, too, Moses and Aaron, we already know Moses wasn't a slave in Egypt, but Aaron was his brother, right? And if you can peep in the story, because details matter, in the Bible, you see Moses and Aaron being with Moses, right?
Right.
Really not having no connection to Pharaoh, just coming into Pharaoh's court and speaking to him.
Right.
That's not a slave.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it all goes back to Joseph. When Joseph enslaved the land or whatever, the people give up all their rights or what have you because of the famine. Have you noticed that Joseph bought all their land except for the land of the priests? So they were never in servitude. At one point, all of Egypt was in servitude. Now, the story of Joseph, from my understanding, is a story of Hojax and the Owaspy. Or Tothma, my bad. That's his name. You remember Tothma?
Some say they say that Joseph and Imhotep is similar. You heard that?
Yeah, I've heard that. I think it's more or less like Tothma, though. Whoever Tothma was in the Owaspy, that's who Joseph is playing off of. Because he enslaved the land.
Figure out who Thothma was, because it's like he came during definitely the Old Kingdom. I know Thothma was definitely the Old Kingdom. And then he lived to be 100 years old, or 99 to 100. So it's like, what pharaoh lived? When I did the history of the longest living pharaoh, it came up to Pepi II.
Mm-hmm. Some think Tothma is Khufu, but there's like, you know what I mean? The records in Egypt are so messed up. Right. Yeah, the records in Egypt are so messed up, but they going off of that. Well, shouldn't say they, because a lot of people don't read the Owaspy, you know, mainstream academia. But supposedly Herodotus or whatever spoke bad about Khufu.
You're right.
Supposedly the people,
temples and all that.
Yeah, supposedly the people didn't like the Egyptian people, the natives didn't like Khufu. And some other pharaoh or whatever. And supposedly Khufu didn't build the pyramid, or he didn't come up with the idea. He got the idea from a shepherd. And we already know in the Owaspy that it was the Faithists that were the only ones that were able to build the pyramid.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly. The fifth degree of Anuba, who hold the highest position, and those were Faithists. But see, this is what kind of catch me too, though, because remember, Osiris inspired the angel Egypt to go find fertile land. And when he found the seer who brought him to the land, which is now called Egypt, these people who migrated came from Persia, Mesopotamia, Canaan. They came down, and they were the ones who established the kingdom. So it gets me that, okay, These are Persians established in the Old Kingdom. But then you hear Thutmose running out the Shepherd Kings, which would be the same people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
well,
the
it's
Shepherd Kings are Asiatics.
yeah. Well, whoever access is or whatever. That's why me and you talked about this privately. We try to figure out who Narmer is in the Owaspi.
Facts. And you know what? Who do we closest reference it to? Because it was the one who unified. Because it was somebody in the Owaspi who unified a ram, something like that. I forget the nigga name.
In the Owaspi, I think it was Haxus. I think his name was like H.A. Because Owaspi got some wild ass names for these people, but like H.A.X. Yeah, H.A.X.A.X. I think.
I'm gonna try to pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These how we vibing on the Owaspi. It's a vibe chilling with the brother Lucy. One of these days, bro, I'm gonna get this man to come in here and drop some knowledge for y'all, man. We got some powerhouses over here. All right, let me get that. Dutman, the pyramid builder. Where that verse at? Yeah, for those who ain't got the Owaspi, y'all better get this book and start playing.
I think it's in the wars against. I think it's in the wars against Jehovah. 14?
Yeah. I'm in there. I'm just trying to find the chapter and verse for it. Because I think that came after the Battle of 1,000 Years.
And while you're looking for that, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Found it interesting talking about the priesthood, the Canaanite priesthood. From my understanding, Melchizedek was a Canaanite priest, right?
Yeah, he was. That's when Abraham met him in the land of Canaan.
Yeah, he met him in the land of Canaan. And what did he bring out to Moses? He brought not Moses to Abraham. He brought out bread and wine. He didn't bring out no meat.
That's the righteous sacrifice, goddamn it, shit.
Because when I'm reading, I read information on the Levites, right? Like I came across books because we also got to take into account. And Selah already knows this. Malachi, everybody already knows it. The Wasp ain't a perfect book. All the information is in the book. Some of that is probably, liable to. Well, it is liable to error because the book tells you itself. But so we got to kind of like piece together the information. Sometimes it could be both books. What you're reading in the Wasp and the Bible could be false. Like, for instance, when they talk about the Exodus, the whole Exodus account in the Bible and the Wasp might be false as far as how many people came out. I came across information saying that the Israelites may never had an Exodus out of Egypt. They may have been already in Canaan. And the Exodus was actually a group of Levites that were coming out of Egypt and going into Canaan.
Right.
I came across information like
historical records of the patriarchs and nothing like that. So, and see that for those who don't know, like we scrutinize the Owaspi too. Don't sit here and think we worship and worship the book like how y'all niggas hold the Bible. No, nigga, we chin check this motherfucker too. It's just that about 85% of this shit is hitting, and about the next 10-50% or whatever, we question and we scratch our head too, just like anybody else would with any book. But the overall concept and the overall destiny and purpose is clear. It's clear as day. You know what I mean? But these are just subject matters we scratch our head on because you know what I mean. Like you said, not everything is right and exact. This is a book at the end of the day, like anything else.
Yeah, because the Owaspi says like 4 million people or something like that, and even Divine Prospect, when it comes to his script, like the Bible, he disagrees with the amount of people it tells you in the Old Testament that came out of Egypt, because archaeologically speaking, and again, the absence of evidence is not evidence for absence. I also understand this, but with all those people, right, millions and millions of people. Now I don't know how this Exodus happened. I don't know what happened in groups or in all one. If it happened all one massive Exodus, we don't have no evidence for that for real. People didn't leave like no debris or anything like that. Like, you would think you would see like evidence of like a mass migration of people.
The only reference, and this is why I tell Israelites that Moses couldn't have existed in the New Kingdom. The only reference that is documented in Kemetic history about a mass migration is called the Hekakasut, or the expulsion of the Hyksos under the reign of Amos the First. That's the only reference that niggas could tie a so-called Exodus to if we had to pull some strings.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say that, because in the Bible it says that the time that Moses was in, it was the time it mentions Ramses. Now we know Ramses is around the 12th century BC. the Exodus already took place. So Moses can't exist during the time of Ramses because the Exodus already took place. Them niggas would have been warned in the time of Joshua not Joshua. That would have been coincided with the 400 years in the wilderness that they talk about in the Owaspy during the time of Ramses. They would have been already in the wilderness at that time.
And
That's
also
the
you
good
got
thing I like about the Owaspy. It gives us them time periods where we could chin check the time period.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And also you got to remember you had the mixed multitude. With Israelites came out of Egypt, right? They came out of Egypt with a mixed multitude. So that mixed multitude, we already know that the faith is Israelites, which would have been the majority. They didn't eat meat. So when God tells him that when you were in the wilderness, I didn't give you, commandments for offerings and burnt offerings or what have you, he didn't. He only gave it to the mixed multitude. He gave that to the Levites. Because Egyptians ate meat. The common people ate poultry and fish.
Right.
The royalty ate beef was the most expensive. And they also ate pork. Another thing too that I mentioned is that a lot of the Egypt, like them figurines and shit, them sculptures, that's not really what they look like. They're like all embellished or whatever. You know what I mean? A lot of these Egyptian royalty had infirmities because they also practiced incest.
Right.
The Egyptian royalty. So they would have had infirmities and all kinds of shit. Some of them were overweight, looking nasty and shit on the throne, probably. You know what I mean? But it was after the time of the Middle Kingdom. Yeah, it was after the most genuine you're going to see Egypt with their art and their sculptures is during the Middle Kingdom. That's the most genuine as ever is going to get is the Middle Kingdom, and that's the time that Moses was there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The whole Middle Kingdom is the time when the Asiatics was there, because the Asiatics came in with Kenem-Hotep the second. You can see the Ben Hassin picture shows them coming in, and that's 1900 BC. By the time Amos comes on the scene, 1546 BC, to establish the new kingdom, that's the whole 400 plus years right there. And then there you have the Exodus right there with Amos, or the expulsion of the Hekakasu.
Yeah, it was a great time of peace during the Middle Kingdom. That was probably Egypt at a zenith. You dig what I'm saying? And everything that Amos the first said that he did, that nigga never unified Egypt.
But they say
he never did that shit.
They also classified the new kingdom like one of them, like, during the time of what's the name, Tutankhamun and Akhenaten, like those were some, like them niggas was living it up, luxurious, because you see the little, what's that, the jewels and the shit that these niggas got in the new kingdom, all that gold and shit like that.
Yeah, they were hustling in the new kingdom. They lost all their slaves. So it's during the new kingdom you start seeing all those expeditions. You see, they start having all those expeditions, and they're carrying the Canaanites and shit like that. They had to go back and get slaves because they lost their slave force with the Exodus.
You know what? That's an excellent point to bring out right there, because 600,000 to 1 million people leaving out as a migration at one time, that collapses the society.
Exactly.
And then 200-300 years go by, you know what I mean? Who are the worker classes now that got to build up the new kingdom? They got to do that shit now. You know what I mean? Like you said, that's why they had them campaigns coming into Israel in the new kingdom, because they're like, nah, nigga, if y'all niggas don't come back out here, matter of fact, we're gonna establish some states up in your land, nigga, and we're gonna slave you niggas over there.
They didn't have the wherewithal to do that. They couldn't build the pyramids. That's the whole thing. Remember that the kings just all over the world, that when they oppressed the faithers, they had them do all these building projects. They didn't have the wherewithal to do all that shit. They didn't know how to, you know what I mean? They didn't know nothing about mound building. All the pyramids were just embellished mounds.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. And see that's the crazy. No, go ahead.
No, that's during the New Kingdom is when you start seeing all these military campaigns. You don't see military campaigns. I don't want to say at all, but you barely see it during the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom was a time of peace.
Big facts. Exactly.
And most of the first will have you believe that he unified Egypt. That's bullshit. He didn't. Amenemhet III already unified Egypt. Egypt was already cool in Amenemhet III, Moses' stepfather.
Yeah, his stepfather, it was between Moses, Amenemhet III, and about 3 pharaohs prior to them. There was like it was more like building projects, development. You know what I mean? And then when the intermediate came, is little up, civil war and all that shit.
Because of Amenemhet II, you got all the Asiatics in Egypt.
Right.
He had the trade or whatever and shit.
That's
like
probably the reason why them niggas was living good. Because like, yo, look, we got these Asiatics that came in during the beginning of the kingdom. So by mid season of the kingdom, these niggas pop because What they looking for employment. What you coming into Egypt for? If your land if you straight over there, what you coming over here for? If the Mexicans is coming across the border to America, what you think they coming over here for? Better living. And they're willing to work, do whatever. All these building projects we see basically today, all these new projects in the city being Mexicans is doing that shit. But who will take? Look at the Trump Towers in New York. The Trump Towers. You know, you know, niggas think Trump built them motherfuckers. I guarantee you, it was some goddamn Mexicans who built that shit. Some small little tiny niggas like the Ions. You know what I'm saying? Mexicans, some little niggas. Short little, you got short little niggas looking like the Ions building these big ass skyscrapers.
You know, there's two poems. There's two poems in the Old Testament. I know you got the Song of Moses, right? And then I think another one's the Song of Miriam. And the Song of Moses, and the Song of Moses, Neil Waspy word for word, and I think that's a little suspect, but like it's in there word for word. So I found that a little suspect. Yeah, the Song of Moses, if you notice in the Song of Moses, not one tribe of Israel is mentioned. But when you read the song,
think about it, there was no tribe of Israel mentioned throughout the whole Exodus. They just mentioned Hebrews.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
But if you look at the Song of Miriam, though, all the tribes of Israel are mentioned, but the Levites.
Right.
And the Song of Moses, no tribe of Israel is mentioned. But they do mention the sanctuary. And the common Israelites weren't able to enter the sanctuary. Main reason was because they were sacrificing. They weren't allowed in the tabernacle or around the tabernacle. Main reason is because the Levites sacrificed animals for the mixed multitude. For anybody that doesn't know, animal sacrifice in ancient times was basically you giving thanks. Like when you give thanks at a table, when you see people giving thanks, that's what a sacrifice was. You had to give thanks because you were taking life. So that's all. That sacrifice was the meal. Since the mixed multitude ate meat in Egypt, that was their diet. They had to be like accustomed. You know what I mean? They had to kind of like, what's the word? I'm like.
But no, like you said, they probably had their own customary ways of preparing and sacrificing the meat and differencing to the Canaanite ritual where niggas going up a mount, cutting the goat and sprinkling the blood. They probably do it like how we do today. Let me go out the backyard, kill the animal, then we're going to prepare them. We're going to pray around the table type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was for the people they ate meat, but the Levites weren't able to touch the holy articles of the Israelites. That's another thing. The Israelites weren't able to approach the tabernacle. The reason being is because they would have called plagues. We know plagues are diseases. Their diet wasn't meat, so they had no business being around there. They would have caught diseases from that, bacteria, what have you.
That's right.
And the Levites, they weren't able to touch the holy articles of the Israelites because the Levites were sacrificing animals all goddamn day.
Exactly.
And the Israelites didn't eat meat. But since the Old Testament is a product of Levitical propaganda, it's not so clear cut because that's the code of animal sacrifice. The Israelite code wasn't. So they twisted a lot of shit. That's why Jeremiah 8 tells you, how can you say we are wise, for the Torah Lord is with us, but behold the false print of the scribe.
And then we know that there's two doctrines, the Oralite doctrine or the Oralite doctrine and the Leviticus doctrine. So what we have in the Bible is the Leviticus account, which is the lower law, while the higher law, the Oralite law, was kept in secret among those in the inner temple who spoke in mouth to ear. But shout out to Malachi Maccabee. What's going on, beloved? Talk to me.
Hey, peace, abundant blessings to both my brothers, man. Abundant blessings. In the name of the Creator, I salute you, brothers. What's going down?
Hey, man, just feeling good in spirit, man. Just decided to get on live, man. I caught some of your live early. I'm going to finish that shit tonight, though. But I seen you going in on that them Flavians, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. Bringing it out a little taste, man. I was chiming in, and I heard our brother Lux. He brings up the Exodus 22 and 29. And that was very, very interesting because there is no redemption clause. He's right. In that verse, there is no redemption clause. So when it says give to me or is mine, you know what I mean, and there ain't no breaking of the neck of a substitute or death in the place of that, then that's sacrifice, you know what I mean? So yeah, what he pointed out was heavy right there. But to make it even more clear, there's an example. You feel me? Now trip off the irony of this, right? Our brother Lux, Louis, he goes to Exodus 22, verse 29, right? Selah. I want you to pull up Judges chapter 11, verse 29. Start there.
All right, Judges 11:29.
And remember, Louis went to Exodus 22, verse 29.
All right, I'm about to put them side by side too as a
Yeah.
Let me
Shout out to you, my brother Lucci, my brother Lux, my brother Louis. Blessings to you, King.
Judges 11:29, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right.
Might be the verse I was looking for.
Hey,
I
look,
might be. We're gonna see when he reads it.
And this is
I'm about to put it up on the screen. I'm about to put it up.
And this is what and this is to bring home even clearer the point that he was making.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
There we go. I'm glad he brought that. I was looking for that, John. Go ahead, bro.
Y'all see that right there? Now look. It starts with what? Then the spirit of who?
The Lord.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's capital Lord.
That's Yahweh.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Oh, okay. Now, all right. Now, so we can't be up under any illusions then.
Okay.
All right. The spirit, today they call it the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, Spirit of the Lord. All right. It says, then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed over Gilead and Manasseh, and passed over Mitzvah of Gilead. And from Mitzvah of Gilead, he passed over unto the children of Ammon. Go up to verse 30, bro. Verse 30. And Jephthah vowed a vow unto Yahweh, or the Lord, and said, if you shall without fail deliver the children of Ammon into my hands. Go up to verse 31, brother. Then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, shall surely be Yahweh's, and I will offer it up for a what?
Offering.
Burnt offering. Back to what my brother Louis brought out. How can you give your firstborn to the Lord?
So basically, that's child sacrifice, is what y'all saying.
That's exactly what it is.
Are we going to read the whole John, or you just stopping there, Malachi?
Nah, we got to keep going.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Let us keep going.
We had 32 then. We had 32
It gets juicy. Watch, go ahead.
So Jephthah passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against them, and Yahweh delivered them into his hands. Verse 33. And he smote, and he killed, and he slew from Ar even till thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities, and unto the plain of the vineyards with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. Verse 34. And Jephthah came to Mitzvah unto his house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances, and she was his only child. Beside her, he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass when he saw her, that he rent or tore his clothes, and said, alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, unto Yahweh, and I could not go back. And I cannot go back. You see this, Selah? Boy, boy, say, look, we can stop and park for so many of these, boy, and just edify. It's crazy. Boy, look at the character. Look, even if that was what it was, the character of your God should have been loud. We disavowing that. The God should have been so trill that vow shouldn't even been allowed to go down.
So basically, he got to sacrifice his daughter as a burnt offering.
As a burnt offering, and this shows that the rules that apply for the animals for burnt offerings apply to who?
Ooh,
And you see, you see Yahweh in there. There ain't no pushback from the God, from the Lord. They ain't like, no, what you talking about? Seem like he
Yeah,
cool with it.
yeah. You
That's
see,
crazy, yo.
because when Jephthah made his vow, he was thinking about an animal. But in reality, it's his daughter. But remember, this is supposed to be a burnt offering. This is how you give something to the Lord.
That's crazy right there, bruh. So these niggas over here, goddamn, sacrificing, and that's his daughter, his only child.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
his that's firstborn. If it's not, it gotta be the firstborn if it ain't the son.
Hey, don't tell me they got the verse where that motherfucker sacrificing it, yo.
Oh
Nah,
yeah.
it doesn't. It doesn't. It
I'm
Yeah.
about
doesn't.
to
It's
say,
implied.
yo.
It's
But
no.
implied.
still, though, we get it.
But
We
look,
get the gist.
when you get down to the end of it, it tells it says he had to keep his vow.
Exactly.
Damn.
He had to keep his vow, bro. If you get down to the end of that, it's gonna tell
You mean,
you.
so just keep scrolling down to the end of the
Yeah,
verse?
yeah. Let's keep reading. Hit the
Oh,
share
all right,
screen.
bet. Say less. That's all right. So where we at? We in Judges, right?
We in Judges 11 and verse 30 and 36.
Yeah, we at
And
36. Go ahead.
she said unto him, my father, if thou hast opened your mouth unto the Lord, do to me according to that which hath proceeded out of your mouth.
Wow.
For as much as the Lord have taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And what came forth out of his mouth? Whatever come out my doors first, I will give unto you with a burnt offering, as a burnt offering.
Wow.
She's saying, yeah, whatever, do it to me then. If that's what you vowed, then that's what it is. This is child sacrifice. Look at this, verse 37. And she said unto her father, let this thing be done for me. Leave me alone, or let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity. I and my fellows. And he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months. And she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. Verse 39. And it came to pass at the end of 2 months that she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow, which he had vowed. And she knew no man. And it was a what? A custom in Israel.
Wow. That's fucking crazy. Bag drop. Hold up, I
Bag.
gotta think for a minute. I gotta take a deep breath, man. That shit fucked me up right there, man. This nigga sacrificed her daughter because the Lord said so. And then you said a burnt off. The scripture said a burnt offering. Now, keep in mind, if it's a burnt offering, it's a practice. It's a way how this burnt offering got to go about.
Oh man, Selah. Now we cooking with the vortex, boy. I know you about to jump back to Leviticus.
You already know where we going with it.
How do you prepare a burnt offering?
Hold up, hold that right there. Hold that thought right there, because I already got it right here. I already got the shit. I already had this shit pulled up. What that say?
Hey.
The law of a burnt offering and sacrifice. So this is what the daughter had to go through, family.
Yes.
Let's go down to the nitty-gritty.
Yes.
If his offering be a burnt offering of her or a daughter, a virgin, let him offer a male without blemish. In this case, it's that female, his daughter. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation of the Lord. He shall put his hands upon the head of his daughter, which is the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make an atonement for him. All right, now here it gets gritty. This is what he had to do to his daughter, because keep in mind, this is a burnt offering, and this is the law of the burnt offering. And he shall kill his daughter before the Lord, and he shall sprinkle the blood. Shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about the altar. This is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he, being the father, shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. He gonna cut his daughter into pieces.
Oof.
And the sons, but in this case will be the father, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire.
Verse 8. Verse 8.
He shall lay the parts.
The head. That means she had to get her head chopped off.
Y'all got to look. This is the father looking at Happy as hell with his daughter's head on a plate. He about to do the sacrifice. So again, he, meaning the father, shall lay the part, the head, the fat in order upon the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But the inwards and her legs shall he wash in water, and he shall burn all on the altar to be what? A burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savior unto the goddamn Lord. What type of diabolical God we've been following, family?
That shit crazy, bro.
And coming back, oh man.
Yo, y'all remember that Levi? Yo, y'all remember that Levite? I forget what chapter and verse it is, but that Levite that cut up that concubine when the Benjamite raped that woman.
Yes, that's in Judges.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So this nigga had to go, let his daughter go for 2 months, running up and down the mountain, and she come back and she had to get her head cut off, yo.
Yep, and chopped in pieces, and laid in order on the wood, the head. Hey, but look, you peep. The God, but it started with the spirit of Yahweh, the spirit of the Lord.
That's crazy.
That's why we started at verse 29. This whole thing was inspired by the Lord.
That's crazy, bro.
Didn't it say, and then the spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah? Then it said he started traveling. He went to these certain spots and he vowed a vow unto this Lord, the spirit of this Lord. And said, look, if you give me victory basically over these Ammonites, when I return in peace, whatever come out my door, it shall be yours, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering.
Wow, that's
right,
crazy.
and that's to back up my brother Louis that dropped
crazy.
that Exodus 22 and 29. How do you give any of that to the Lord, right? And if we read verse 30 of that Exodus 22, it seals it even harder.
What's that you said? What is it?
That Exodus 22 that Louis brought out.
All right, let me bring it back up real quick. Hold on.
Yeah, Exodus 22, verse 29.
29 and 30. That 30 brings it all the way home.
All right, let's do it again. Exodus 29. Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits and of thy liquors. The firstborn of thy son shalt thou give unto me. Likewise shall thou do with thy ox and with thy sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam. On the 8th day thou shalt give it me. Give it me. So we talking about sacrificing. That's crazy, yo.
You feel me?
Stuff, yo.
From the firstborn sons and all that. That's human sacrifice.
Yo, that's
and
crazy.
If you look at and if you go to you don't have to go to this, but 2 Kings chapter 3.
Oh, no, we exposing this shit here. This is what we do, goddammit. Let's bring this shit out. These are the conversations we had on Facebook back in the days. Now we can bring this shit out before the people.
Yeah, man.
You said, what'd you say go to?
This is in 2 Kings chapter 3. You can go to the whole chapter for real. It ain't too long.
Hold up.
Yeah, I was like, boy, that boy Louis on one today, boy. I say, oh. and then see the Exodus 22 and 29, and I went to Judges 11, verse 29. Like, dang, the verses match.
Precept
you know
upon
what I mean?
precept, here a little, there a little.
What's the odds the verses match? Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy right there.
Yeah, the verses match.
So they talking about the waspy nigga. That was some witchcraft Bible spook
numerology
shit.
And crazy part is it explained how you give something to the Lord. It was a burnt off. And the Lord not one time stopped. The Lord didn't one time intervene, not one time.
You know what? That's what I was looking at, because I'm like, all right, his daughter came out, he rent his clothes. So at that point, the Lord should have been like, all right, my nigga, I know I said what I said, but I ain't mean that because I know your daughter was gonna come out. Something, you know what I'm saying? Right, but remember, the Lord is supposedly the creator. The Lord is supposed to be all knowing.
Yeah, he stopped Abraham when Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, according to the scripture. Why couldn't he stop Jephthah? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, as a burnt offering. So Isaac's head would have got cut off.
Wow,
and he would have been flayed into pieces. And Abraham was about to do it according to the biblical text. That's crazy.
That's crazy. This what we looking at, Lucy? So what you're about to look at is it's going to kind of piggyback off of the whole sacrifice thing, but also you're going to read about Yahweh taking his first loss to another god.
You want to read it?
He knows. Yeah, I'm reading it off my tablet, but it's the same shit though. What I'm reading right here. It says now, verse 1. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, became king over Israel at Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned for 12 years. He did evil in the sight of the Lord, though not like his father and his mother, for he removed the memorial stone of Baal, which his father had made. Nevertheless, he clung to the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and to which he misled Israel. He did not abandon them. So he was wicked, but he wasn't as wicked as, according to like how his father was. Now Mesha, the king of Moab, was a sheep breeder, and he used to make tribute payments to the king of Israel of 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. However, when King Ahab died, the king of Moab broke with the king of Israel. So King Jehoram left Samaria for battle. At that time, he mustered all Israel. Then he went and sent word to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab has broken away from me. Will you go with me to fight against Moab? And he said, I will go up. Consider me yours, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. Then he said, which way shall we go up? And he answered, the way of the wilderness of Edom. Verse 9. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they made a circuit of 7 days of a 7-day journey. But there was no water for the army or for the cattle that followed them. Then the king of Israel said, it is hopeless, for the Lord has called these 3 kings to hand them over to Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, there is no prophet of the Lord here, that we may inquire the Lord by him. And of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, Elisha, the son of Shaphat, is here, who used to pour water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. Now Elisha said to the king of Israel, what business do you have with me? Go to your father's prophets and your mother's prophets. But the king of Israel said to him, no, for the Lord has called these 3 kings together to hand them over to Moab. Elisha said, now peep this. He said, what he says, as surely as the Lord of armies lives before whom I stand, if I did not respect Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I will not look nor see you. He wouldn't deal with him if it wasn't for Jehoshaphat. So we know that Jehoshaphat is righteous for the most part. He ain't on the bullshit that Jeroboam, whatever his name is, Jehoram is on, right? But he's gonna fall with his ass. Let's make that clear.
Right.
Elisha said, as surely as the Lord of armies lives before whom I stand, if I did not respect Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I will not look at you nor see you. But now bring me a musician. And it came about when the musician played that the hand of the Lord came upon him. And he said, this is what the Lord says. Make this valley full of trenches. For the Lord says this, you will not see wind, nor will you see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water, so that you will drink, you, your livestock, and your other animals. And this is an insignificant thing in the sight of the Lord. So this is not a problem. He will also give the Moabites into your hand. He's going to give the Moabites into their hand. Remember this. No ifs, ands, or buts. He's going to give them over. The Israelites are going to win, and they're going to take down on some shit. That's what the Most High is telling them. Then you shall strike every fortified city and every choice city, and cut down every good tree, and stop up all the springs of water, and spoil every good plot of land with stones. And it happened in the morning about the time of offering the sacrifice, that behold, water came from the direction of Edom, and the country was filled with water. Now all the Moabites heard the kings had come up to fight. Verse 21. I'm sorry. Now all the Moabites heard the kings had come up to fight against them, and all who were able to put on armor and older were summoned, and they took their positions on the border. Then they got up early in the morning, and the sun shone on the water, and the Moabites saw the water opposite them as red as blood. So they said, this is blood. The kings must have fought each other, and they have killed one another. Now then Moab to the spoils. But when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and struck the Moabites, so that they fled from them. And the Israelites invaded the land, killing the Moabites. So they destroyed the cities, and each one threw a stone on every plot of good land and filled it. So they stopped up every spring of water and cut down every good tree, until in Ker Hareseth only they left its stones. However, the rock slinger surrounded it and struck it. When the king of Moab saw that the battle was too fierce for him, he took with him 700 men who drew swords to break through to the king of Edom, but they could not. Then the king of Moab took his oldest son, who was to reign in his place, and offered him as a burnt offering on the wall. And a great anger came upon Israel, and they departed from him and returned to their own land. Now, what the fuck is that?
Wow, nigga, we could have just read that last verse right there. That's the death blow right there. right there. Then he took his eldest son, which is firstborn, that should have reigned in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. Wow.
The wall,
That's
which was still
crazy.
standing, it wasn't supposed to stand. That was the capital. The capital stood. He sacrificed his son on the fucking wall, right? Excuse my language because I'm getting all passionate now. But it says,
Right.
and great anger came upon Israel. Great anger came upon Israel. Anger from who? It wasn't anger from Yahweh. Who the Moabites worship? Chemosh, right? They ran. That's what that Most High told them. That he told these niggas to run. He said, I'm going to give the Moabites into your land or into your hands. What happened?
Yo,
How powerful
crazy.
this child sacrifice that a divine anger rose up against them. And you know, more proof of this if you read the Moabite stone. Because the Moabite stone speaks about King Mesha. And he talks about a king of Israel that was oppressing him and his people. And how Chemosh was angry with him and his people.
Man, this shit right here is spooky,
man. Exactly my point. That's the whole thing. I just remembered it because the child sacrifice. He sacrificed his son.
Good one, yo. 2 Kings 3:27. Then he took his eldest son that would have reigned in his stead and offered him for a burnt
Selah.
Yeah.
Jehoshaphat was with them.
When that happened.
Why he had to suffer the same defeats? Jehoshaphat was. What happened?
Yo, man. And these niggas want to run back to the land of Israel to live and shit. You crazy as hell, nigga. I ain't going nowhere over there. That's crazy, bro. Yo,
Jehoshaphat got the shit under the stick. Jehoshaphat got the shit under the stick. What happened? I thought he was righteous. At least you would never dealt with the king of Israel. Wasn't for Jehoshaphat. You would at least think if it was for Jehoshaphat, he would have defeated the Moabites. God wasn't with them. I mean, remember what Elijah and them when he had to go look on the hilltops and shit? You seen all the angels and shit? Because they was afraid. They said, you're not alone. Well, what happened to them?
Yo, man, I'm still tripping that this nigga fucking burnt his son so that nigga had to chop his son head off. He had to clean the inward parts in the leg.
He did it in front of the Israelites.
In front of the Israelites, you said, right?
Yeah, he killed them on the wall.
That's like a lynching. That's like having a lynching and everybody watching the lynching and shit. That's crazy. That's crazy, yo. Yo, give me a one in the chat if y'all getting this understanding, family. We out here vibing right now.
Nuts, bro.
You hear that, Malachi? Yo, that shit crazy, bro.
Man, that's crazy, man. Hey, that's just as crazy as when you was breaking down the children of Benjamin in Israel. These niggas pray to the God. Shall we go to war? Shall we go to war, boss? And he said, yeah, go on to war. I'm with you. Them niggas did a sacrifice and everything to please the God, got up there and got their ass tore out the frame.
Yo, how niggas don't question these things and really question their God, bro? If this is the God we supposed to go visit this is the nigga we supposed to see after we die or be in contact with somewhere down the line after we die. And this nigga carrying on like this and y'all ain't checking this shit? Knowing y'all got choices. The creator gave us choices in life. He gave us liberty. You know what I mean? Some of the free will or whatever. But y'all niggas, people got choices to choose the Bible. You could choose Islam or you could choose nothing. But to lock yourself in this Bible, like many of us have before, now we are free from the bondage of the God. We still study scripture. We still in the text, but we not worshiping this biblical God. You know what I mean? It's just interesting that a lot of the brews is following. I think the Hebrews been blinded by the fact that, okay, there's a chosen people in the book, and maybe you be connected to these chosen people. I think they blinded by that fact more than acknowledging the characteristics of this God and really thinking about what this fucking God doing, man.
Yeah, it's a whole faith based off fear. You know what I mean? It's fear based.
Oh, look what Iman say. Look what Iman say.
Yeah, King Ahaz dead.
2 Kings 6. Let's get that real quick. Since we're there, I got to keep that one verse up right there. Damn, Louis, that was cold-blooded right there.
Oh, I'll be kicking a lot of ass with that one. A lot of people don't know about that one. I had cats in circles with that shit, and then they came and tried to explain it away, and they ran into more contradictions. They were like, "Oh, well, the Israelites were never supposed to go to war with the Moabites because the Lord gave them the land." Well, who gave them the land? Was it the Lord or was it Chemosh? Because you got both. You got the Israelites telling the Ammonites, because their God is also Chemosh. Doesn't Chemosh give you this, that, and the third? Does it give you inheritance? So you got Chemosh giving them inheritance, and then you got the Most High giving them inheritance. Who is it? You know what I mean? You got all, look, in the Old Testament alone, bro, you got over 600 contradictions.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me get
So
some
But
it's
drink.
not
like,
being that
Oh,
it's
go
based
ahead.
off fear though, that like the fear is that your chestnuts are gonna roast for eternity. If you don't get this right, bruh, you gonna roast forever. See,
Chestnuts
so
roasting.
yeah, on an open fire. So you got to realize that our brothers and sisters are held up under that threat. And when I tell you it feels so liberating to come from up under, like, oh, okay, dang. You know what I mean? Like what kind of all-knowing creator that's love? You know, even if there is a punishment for you, why would it be forever? And any of you have children, you know better than that.
On an open fire.
That's where you headed, boy. To
Find
pine oil
some.
heaven.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
That's where you headed, boy. To pine oil.
And that's where you niggas is headed if y'all don't get y'all spiritual shit right. So check it. I pull up that verse that Iman just talked about. Let me she said King A whatever did the same thing in 2 Kings 16:13. It's crazy because I used to know all these names back when I was in my Hebrew prom. It's like I done forgot all this shit.
so that weed you've been smoking.
Yeah, that part. All right, here we
Nah,
go.
it's a lot of knowledge. It's that and the knowledge, bro. I mean, you've been around, you know what I mean? You've been around and a lot of research, man. You gotta, you know, sometimes you gotta brush up. Well, you always gotta brush up.
Exactly.
So,
I'm like, hey, who was Ahab? Oh, all right, where is that? All right, here we go. 2 Kings 16:3. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and made his son to pass through the fire.
Hey, sis say started. Ema say started verse 2.
Oh, all right. Ahaz, that's how you say it, right?
Yeah,
20
Ahaz.
Yeah,
Ahaz.
all right, cool. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord, his God, like David his father. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and made his son to pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel. So, okay, all right. So, in one breath, the Lord is like, I ain't telling y'all niggas to do this shit. But then in another breath, niggas is offering up their fucking firstborns to the same nigga.
because that's all the Bible is. It's a bunch of, this is what Ezra did. He took a bunch of competing traditions and he stitched competing traditions and stitched them together. And that's what you're seeing. You see it in the text. There's no agreement.
Right.
Because there's different authors with different doctrines and shit like that. And there's different God speaking. So obviously that's probably Jehovah speaking. You know what I mean? Because I didn't ask for that shit.
That's crazy, yo.
And look,
But
that would
then you got,
also explain why all the camps and congregations, whether they're Israelites or Christians, don't agree on anything. You know what I mean? That's why. No doubt.
Facts.
because the laws were burnt in Babylon. You know what I mean? The Babylonians destroyed the laws, burnt down the temple, whatever. So Ezra didn't have anything. He had to compile a Torah under the auspices of the Persians. And that's another thing. He did it under the auspices of a foreign king. He
Say it
was
again,
putting
yo.
rule by a foreign king. Huh?
Oh, man. I was coughing away. What'd you say?
I said that Ezra put the Torah together under the auspices of a foreign king, a Persian king.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy tells you not to do that. It tells you not to have a foreign king over you.
Yeah, because that nigga Cyrus, the Lord was with Cyrus and told them niggas to go back and build the second temple and shit.
And Cyrus, King Cyrus is a mystery because King Cyrus is like praised in like history, but like In the Owaspy, it says he was a tyrant, and King Cyrus was Luamang's man.
And trip off that, he's in Isaiah 45. He's called the Lord's anointed.
Yeah, and Isaiah didn't write that shit.
He's called Messiah.
Hey, what verse is
Exactly.
that? Hold on, we gotta pull that up.
Isaiah the 45th chapter.
Oh,
You
today.
just connected some dots for me. Oh,
We sure receipts today.
And listen,
no,
listen, Isaiah didn't write that shit. That's Deutero Isaiah or some shit like that.
Right.
Listen, from like Isaiah didn't even write all of Isaiah. I think from like chapter 1 to like 30 some scholars believe like that comes from Isaiah.
Yeah, it's
Everything after this,
3 different writers for that book.
yeah, everything after that don't. So that part that Malachi just brought up, that ain't Isaiah. Didn't say none of that shit. That's not Isaiah's book.
And
Look what it say though. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed. That means Messiah.
Hey, click on the blue letter. You gotta click on. You gotta show them. You gotta show.
I forgot about the blue letter. Oh shit, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, click on the Strongs tab. Put the number.
Strong's going.
Yeah, let me get my James Strong on.
What we clicking on? Anointed, right?
Anointed. Yeah, what's anointed in the Hebrew? What does it say in the Hebrew? Oh,
Messiah. Wow.
Oh no.
So you're trying to tell me this nigga right here? Let me put up a picture of Cyrus real quick.
Cyrus was the only Messiah, bro. That was the only Messiah.
So this is Cyrus. Let me see if I got any other pictures of him.
That's crazy.
Don't let me play goddamn put up one of these pictures on their ass and shit. Is that your king? But no, let me go historical. So this is Cyrus right here. This your Messiah. But look what he got on his head.
Got the horns of a moon. That's what it looks like.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That like the crown of Egypt and shit.
Wow.
The Persians are the ones. The Persians were that they had the first sun kingdoms or the first sun king.
They ain't ready for that though. They ain't ready for that.
Yeah. The Jewish religion is a product of the Persians. The Persians created that shit. That was all the temple, the religion. That was all the Persians. They were making a one world religion. That's what they were trying to do. And they got Ezra. Ezra was paid by them.
It even got Cyrus in.
Hey man, stop, man.
They got Cyrus under the definition of anointed. Under biblical usage. Ain't this something?
Anointed by the Lord. Anointed by Yahweh.
Lord.
The Lord.
And that's not even a primary root word. When we go to the primary, let's see. This is the primary root word right here, masa. And that's the one that means to smear with oil.
Spread a liquid.
So Cyrus, this guy right here, this guy was over here getting smeared with olive oil. As the anointed king of who? Of who?
Oh my God.
Of who? What thus saith the Lord to his Messiah, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden. I thought Jesus was on the right hand of God. This nigga was holding, Cyrus was holding the right hand of the Lord before Jesus.
Yeah, you know, the Yahweh was holding his hand, right? That's funny because when you read Cyrus in the Cyrus cylinder, Cyrus don't mention Yahweh. He says that Marduk was holding his hand.
That's right. That's right. I was just gonna say that, Lou.
But
hey,
look,
man.
right, you said Marduk, right? Now watch this. Now watch this. You said
who was Marduk? That's Uncle Ball, ain't it? I think Marduk is Uncle Ball. See, come on.
I'm about to show you. I'm about to bring reference to that. Watch this. 7 tablets of creation, right? Watch this. Watch this. When was man created? On what? The 6th day, right?
Hey,
all right, check it. Look what it say right here. Where that? Where that? Oh, there you go. What does that say? What does that say?
Marduk.
What does that say? Ain't that who we talking about, right?
Yeah.
But look what it says when he comes down. This is Marduk talking. When Marduk heard the word of the gods, his heart was prompt him, and he devised a cunning plan. He opened his mouth unto who? Ea, and spoke. That which he had conceived in his heart, he imparted unto him. My blood will I take, and bone will I fashion. What?
Mm.
I will what? I will
Wow.
make man. Who is making man? Goddamn Murdoch.
Marduk.
Murdoch.
Wow.
The same nigga who holding whose hand? Cyrus.
Cyrus hand.
Come on, bro. Come on, man. Backdrop. Right, man?
And then Isaiah, backdrop, boy, and Isaiah 45 says Yahweh. So
See that?
it's Yahweh, and then Marduk is Uncle Ball too. That's Ball. That's your Uncle Ball right there. Oh,
And Isaiah 45 was written during the exile.
See?
There you go. So you already know, like, that's what happened. It was the Persians. They did that. They work for the Persians, bro, Ezra and them. That's what a lot of these cats don't understand. Ezra was handpicked by the Persians. They paid his ass. They wanted the Israelites to follow them, and this, you know what I mean, to follow this fucking wicked ass priest, and that's what they did. They took power. You know what I mean? After that, they did it the kings of Israel, and they finally got the power they wanted under King Cyrus. That's when Israel went from a monarchy where a king ruled the government to a theocracy where the priest ruled. They did from all the way from Torah. They were planning that shit all the way from Korah, the Levites. And they finally got it when they was in Babylon. And you know what the majority of the Jews did when they went to build the temple? They all didn't go. A lot of them niggas stayed in Babylon, and what were they doing? They were running the banks.
Yeah, like Mordecai now.
Running the banks.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro.
On your banking system. That was a precursor to a centralized global banking system. And what you see with the religion was a precursor to a global one world religion. That's what the Persians were trying to do. So, I mean, all that shit's Persian, bro. It all comes from the Persians. Like, it is what it is. They just don't accept that shit.
It's just crazy how Owaspi put the time of Zarathustra so far back. Because, you know, everybody think, you know, Narmer, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's where history really starts with. Narmer, and then coming on down, you get the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom. But prior to Narmer, when we go back to the Nakata period, 4th millennium BC, 5th millennium BC, all we see is pottery and shit. You know what I'm saying? We don't see no real built-up civilization. So for Zarathustra to be two 6,000 years prior to that, it's like, oh man, that's crazy. So it's like to find evidence of that, starting from Narmer going further back, it's like, sheesh.
And then what did the Jews do when they got out of Babylon? They went into Jerusalem or whatever. They had an issue with like the Samaritans or whatever, the Samaritans that were there. They wouldn't let them build the temple. They wouldn't let them get with them to build the temple. They had this beef with them.
You talking about in the Bible?
Yeah, like they had a beef with the Samaritans. The Samaritans been there, you know what I'm saying? They didn't want them to build the temple, this and the third. But while they were building the temple, what was Ezra doing? He was in Babylon compiling the Torah. He was trying to figure, he was looking for pieces, he was looking for anything he could find. So he went to all these priestly guilds.
That's one right there. So when Luamon came to Ezra, he was in goddamn Babylon.
Yeah, he was in Babylon.
Look at that, nigga. Yo, Tanakh is Babylonian in land-wise, geography-wise.
Look, Second Ezra in the Apocrypha validates that. He was in Babylon when the Torah got refurbished. And they supposed to have 204 books of Torah, not 204 verses. Not 204 to 204 books, it says he reproduced.
That leads me that not to cut you, that leads me to think that maybe Enoch probably comes out of one of those 204 books.
Enoch does.
You said it do?
Enoch does. It comes out of that. My bad. Like, go ahead, bro.
Go ahead, man.
It's not even 100 books in your Bible that you have. So you're already dealing with incomplete information. And then he was told to hide 70 of those books, right? Not 70 verses. And them brothers be talking about 70 verses. It says 70 books.
It'll be funny if Owaspi was one of them, the 70 books that was all compiled hell to hold back and shit. Like, nigga.
You heard me. Oh, man.
Because these are prophets. If these are prophets of the Creator, they wouldn't have to be aware of Cosmon and the coming of Cosmon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he it was crazy, man. But he was in Babylon when all that happened. He was in Babylon. You know what I mean?
He stayed in Babylon when they went to go build the temple. He stayed in Babylon. A lot of Jews didn't go do that shit because they were living comfortably in Babylon. They had money and shit like that. They wasn't trying to go nowhere. They stayed there running the banks and shit like that.
Yeah, Esther was supposed to be the queen. Mordecai was in high position. Esther was like the queen of a Persian king and all that. You know what I mean?
Yo. That's
That's
crazy.
the birth.
Yo.
That's the birth of the synagogue of Satan when they was in Babylon. That's what that shit is. That's when that shit was birthed. Like right then and there. Like so.
Because
You
it's
know,
after. Hold up. Because it's after the captivity coming back during the rebuilding of the Second Temple with Ezra is where you see Pharisees, Sadducees. If I'm not mistaken, I ain't never seen those names pre-captivity.
yeah, they started to come after the fact. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
So that shows you that may be some straight Babylonian influence there.
and the Sadducees during the Second Temple period, they ran the temple. The Sadducees, they were the aristocrats, and the Sadducees, where they differ with the Pharisees, is they didn't believe in any kind of spookism. They didn't believe in the afterlife. They didn't believe in angels and demons. They believed that this life was the be all and end all, and after this was it. You had to live your most righteous life. It was the Pharisees that dipped into like oral law, hell, heaven, angels, and shit like that. And then you had the Essenes. You know what I mean? They lived in communities outside the cities and shit like that. But the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they all lived in the cities and shit. So, you know, Pharisees were a little bit more better off than the Sadducees. You know what I mean? They were a little bit more closer to the truth, but they still were, you know, those were like the rabbinic. That's the Pharisees is where rabbinic Judaism comes from.
Mm-hmm.
With the Mishnah and the Haggadah and all that shit, that comes from the Pharisees. The Sadducees weren't into all that. The Sadducees were like materialists. They were
So we
sellouts.
can literally say all this shit come out of Babylon, because when we look at the ancient Babylonians, you see them with the garment. I mean, you see them with the garments, you see them with the fringes or the tzitzits. You see it.
Yeah.
And if Ezra goddamn birthed at the goddamn Tanakh coming back to rebuild the temple with these fringes on.
And who was Ezra's grandfather or great grandfather? Was Hilkiah. Hilkiah. And Hilkiah, right? That was with King what's his name? What was the king that reformed?
Josiah.
Josiah, there we go. And when you see King, and it's funny because when you see Hilkiah, he has the priest of the second order with him. Who the fuck are? Who's the priest of the second order? We never read about the priest of the first order. That's because the priest of the first order stemmed from Melchizedek and them, the priest of Judah.
Hey, you
Because
know what?
you know that. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry, go ahead. I was in the
No, I was saying Josiah, he ended up killing the priests of Judah. He killed the priests in the high places. And what it tell you in the book, it says the priests of the high places, they didn't worship at the temple. Why? Because they didn't eat animal flesh. There was no reason for them to be at the temple. They sacrificed animals over there. So it says though they didn't serve at the temple or worship at the temple, they broke bread with their brothers, their fellow priests. But they killed them because they burned incense to the heavenly host, which King David did the same shit. King David did the same shit.
It's crazy, man.
Because when you read the laws of Anubai, right, it tells you like the third right is to know the heavenly host.
You talking about the laws of Anubai from Owaspi?
Yeah, in the Owaspi, you're supposed to know the heavenly host.
Yeah, you learned that in the second Anubis rites.
Or the second one or whatever. Yeah, second or third, which one of them? You're supposed to know. Even the Essenes, I think it was Josephus or whatever that says the Essenes were known to have a record of angelic names.
Yeah, like when you look at the ancient order of Israel, it's like they was on top. Even look when you coming back to Thutmose, the pyramid builder. You know, they said this nigga knew the name of 1,000 gods. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the Levites were
nigga sitting
promoting
around and know
monotheism.
1,000 gods. Go ahead, Lord.
No, I was saying the Levites were promoting monotheism. The native Israelites were henotheists, meaning that they believed in multiple gods, but they only venerated one supreme.
I may have to pull that verse up though, man. When this nigga got there, knew the name of 1,000 gods and shit. But coming back, Louis, real quick to when we were talking about Mally, when we was talking about the pyramid. I mean, the king of Egypt who broke the alignments. I mean, we're talking about Narmer. We were talking about trying to find out who Narmer was, because Narmer is known for unifying Egypt. You know what I mean? So in the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, chapter 48, verse 7, this is the time of the pyramid building going on here. This is when it was a migration from Persia, Mesopotamia region, Canaan region, into Egypt. But this is pre-dynastic times. So even when you look at the Narmer palette, you see Narmer fighting off Asiatics, because a lot of Kemetic scholars say that those were Asiatics that was engaging with Narmer. So if that's the case, that means Asiatics was already occupying that land if Narmer came up from the south.
Bakal. There you go. Yeah, Bakal. I think Bakal is Narmer.
Yeah, so let me read that. Lutag. So for those who don't know, just to some reference, you know, no, I'll just start from there. I feel like we know that shit. But all right, so we just go to the point. This is basically the first kings of the land of Egypt. Now these people, these kings, before I read, these kings come from, I'm going to show you real quick, because this is important. Look what it say. In Hakwad, in where? Persia, dwelt the king Lutag, a man of great wisdom. The key point here is that this dude is in Persia, right? And then it says, but his capital city lay on the border of Phoenicia, which would be Canaan. So we're talking about the whole Mesopotamia, and the capital is Phoenicia, the land of Canaan for the most part. So these people are living there, right? And then it states in verse 2 that a great drought came upon the region, right? And this drought is why they migrated into Egypt. Long story short, coming back to verse 4.
Have you noticed above, before you go any further, you notice how he has 12 tributary cities?
Right.
There's 12 tribes of Israel, supposedly. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Facts. You got the 12 tributary cities. Each city being ruled over by a king. So you already had the kingship going on coming out of Persia, Mesopotamia, right? Pre-dynastic time we're talking. And then came a drought, and this drought made them migrate into Egypt. Now, when we come to verse 5, no, what verse were we talking about? No, verse 7. Now, this is the kingship. After they migrated into Egypt, now keep in mind, these are Persians, Mesopotamians, came migrating into Egypt in pre-dynastic times, creating a kingdom. So it stays here. Right here. All right. Lutag, that was the king of Persia. His son to govern the land of Egypt. So this is a Persian son governing the land of Egypt, an Asiatic. And he made it tributary to the kingdom of Surat. And I mean, the son's name was Hexax. And when he was old and died, he left the governorship of Egypt to his son Bakal, who broke the allegiance with Persia and established all of Egypt as an independent kingdom. Now, this is why, you know, for those who read the Owaspi, we'll say this semblance is Narmer, because Narmer is the one who established and unified Egypt and became the first initial king of the old kingdom. This guy, although he's not the first king, but he's the one to unify or establish all Egypt independent, breaking its allegiance to Persia.
Yeah, Narmer probably wouldn't say that. That's what I'm saying. Narmer probably wouldn't, like, if that is him, he probably wouldn't bring that up in the histories, like in the walls. They probably wouldn't put that in Egypt.
And the evidence of that is when we look at the Narmer palette, we see those two double-headed dragons, those two serpentine dragons, and you see that coming out of Mesopotamia as well.
Yep.
Let me see.
You know what else you know what else you see coming out of Mesopotamia? The scorpion. And Narmer supposedly also he may be the Scorpion King.
That's exactly. So let me put on Narmer palette. You know, nigga touched on this shit years ago. So when you look at the Narmer palette, let me see. You see that double entwined serpent, right? Them two. Let me see if I can get a better picture of it. All right, there we go. See this symbol right here with these two lines? This shit coming out of Mesopotamia, right here.
Mm-hmm.
This shit is not Egypt and Orient. That's Mesopotamia. And that's on the Narmer palette. So let me see if I can pull up the picture of the damn.
Look up real quick the Scorpion King's mace. Mace head.
All right, perfect. Right.
That nigga look like Narmer?
Exactly. He said, "No, that nigga like Narmer." Right. See that? And he got the exactly. Look at the
You got
crown on his head.
Osiris' crown.
That's the crown of Osiris too. But it could have been. Let me put up Narmer. Osiris real quick. No, not Osiris. Damn. And what was the name of that joint, man? The
Narmer got a mace head too.
it was a picture I got. It's one just like this coming out of Mesopotamia. The Jim Den period. Let me see if it's the Jim Den period. Oh shit, this isn't even. I always start Mesopotamia. There we go, the Jim Den period. All right, let me see if I can pull up the image. See if it'll come up. Now these artifacts is. Let me get the time period so y'all know. 31 to 2900 BC. So this is the same time period. These artifacts is of Narmer time period, but this is in where? Mesopotamia, Persia, where the migration is supposed to have migrated into Kemet. So these are some of the cylinder seals. Oh shit. Look, this is 3100 BC. These are just some of the artifacts coming from a time period that was flourishing the same time period of Egypt. I think they're going to show it on this shit. What I was looking for. See that? You see that? Boom, the Shepherd King. This is the Gebel Erech knife. This is found in Egypt. This artifact, which is Persian, is found in pre-dynastic Egypt. The ziggurat. Look, they even got the Narmer palette. But there was one in particular with them double lions. But I'll come back and find it. But it was the same image of this coming out of Mesopotamia. So just coming back to what we were talking about with the y'all still there? Oh. Yeah. But now though, just showing you how in the Owaspi it shows you that Persians migrated into Egypt pre-dynastic times. And then on the Narmer palette, these people he's supposed to be slaying, it's supposed to be Asiatics right here. See that? These people who Narmer got, they're supposed to be Asiatics. These people laying on the ground dead supposed to be Asiatics. See that? Yeah, though. Let me see, man. There was that one image, man. If I could find that joint. So all these artifacts is from 3100 BC coming out of Mesopotamia, or better yet, Persia. Well, you know what? I may put it. Double neck lion or some shit. Maybe that should put it. There you go, right there. Bam. There we go. See that? See that right there? Look. The serpapard, how do we pronounce it? The serpapard is a mythical animal known from ancient Egypt and where? Mesopotamia. But look at this. Look at this, family. This is what I wanted to get right here. Look what that say. 3000 BC cylinder seal of Uruk. Where's Uruk? Mesopotamia. This is the same cylinder seal. You see how the necks are intertwined? You see how the necks are intertwined? It's the same thing you see on the Narmer palette. See that? This is the same thing you see on the Narmer palette. Right here. You don't see this image no more coming out of Egypt after Narmer. This shit you don't see this picture in the Middle Kingdom, in the New Kingdom. You ain't gonna see this no more. But this image you find coming out of Mesopotamia. Because even in this picture, let's go back. Let's go right here. We come back to the Jim Dar period. It says 3100 BC. Narmer took the throne 3100 BC, right? Right now, what I was looking for, because it just showed it, the pyramid thing. Hold up. Where that? They just showed that pyramid. And Persia is known for rams too. These are the rams right here. They was known for having a lot of rams. The shepherds dealt with the rams and the goats. So you see a lot of symbolism of the goats and the rams. This right here. Look what it says right here. It says, White Temple, Ziggurat, and Uruk. Now look, this same image right here, 3000 BC cylinder seal of what? Uruk. This cylinder seal was found in Uruk, and this is a structure, a temple, or pyramid, whatever, in Uruk. This is 3100 BC. This is before and during the time of Narmer. Narmer is 3100 BC. This is 3100 BC, 3000 BC. And we see the cylinder seals. And then we see the same thing on the Narmer palette. So who's to say that these were Persians migrating into Egypt pre-dynastic time with Mesopotamian influence in the land of Egypt? Because like I said, you ain't going to see this symbol no more after Narmer, after the Old Kingdom. This shit is dead. Because the origin of this shit is in what? Uruk. How do you pronounce that shit? Uruk. In Mesopotamia. Where is Uruk? Let's see. This is where Uruk at. See that? That's Egypt way over. Narmer and them getting busy way over here. 331 to 3000 BC, you got the cylinder seal showing these entwined giraffes or whatever they are. And then you see the same thing at the same time period over here in Egypt. And then the Owaspis said there was a migration coming from Persia or Mesopotamia coming through the land of Canaan into Egypt, and then they established the kingship, which would have been the pre-dynastic Egypt or the Old Kingdom. Persian influenced. So that's interesting nonetheless. Give me a one in the chat if y'all getting this understanding. What up, family? Got my brother Malachi Maccabee chilling in the background, chilling in the chat. You know how we do. Ask Selah to resend the link. Oh, all right. I didn't even know Lucy was going. You know how we do. We get it in and just be zoned out in the spirit. You know what I mean? It's a blood clot vibes. Give me a one in the chat, family, if you get this understanding. You know how we do. We got Lucy back on the ones and twos.
Yo, yeah, my bad. I was trying to charge my phone and it cut me off. But that was really good what you showed, bro. I knew about that. I didn't know what that thing was called. Those serpentine animal looking creatures.
Yeah. Because remember, I brought
on the coffin.
Yeah, because I brought that shit out years ago when I first had the first Selah Shalom 120 channel, and I was going through the book. And when I got to the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, and I was doing the history on the 23rd arc cycle, 4th millennium BC coming on down, that's when I discovered all that shit. You know what I mean? So it was like, yo, the artifacts is showing Mesopotamian influence in Egypt on the Narmer palette, while the Owaspis is saying that there was a migration from Persia, Mesopotamia region coming into Egypt. So, you know, that's quite interesting to see somewhat of a similarity there.
And man, it was those Persians. The Persians started that. They're the original ones with that knowledge. They had the first Sun Kingdoms, all that shit. That all comes from them.
Exactly.
It's not known like that, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it is.
And that's the crazy thing, because you know them Kemetic niggas ain't trying to hear that shit. You know what I'm saying?
They're not. They also not trying to hear that You know what else? And I'm trying to hear what we talking about on the group chat. That ancient Kemites were having sex with animals and practicing necrophilia and shit like that. That shit was common practice in
That's
ancient
crazy.
Egypt.
That's crazy.
You got hybrid animal gods and shit like that on animal heads. You got a picture of Seth and Horus touching Ramses, adoring him and shit.
That's
Like,
crazy.
you dig what I'm saying? Like, you
Right.
got pharaohs with their dicks out and shit on the walls, and you know.
Yeah, that's some wild shit, yo. Like even though us, we say, yo, Egypt got so bad, there was some things unlawful to even mention. So, like you say, niggas always talking about the highlight of Egypt, but niggas don't talk about that dark side either. And every religion, history, culture, doctrine got a good side and a dark side to that shit.
They was having sex with crocodiles up in Egypt, dog. Like, come on, they're putting them on their back and penetrating them and shit. Like, because they believed it brought fertility. Women were even putting crocodile dung in their vaginas and shit for a contraceptive.
That's crazy, yo.
That shit's wild, right? But that's what they was doing in Egypt.
That's wild. That's wild, yo.
Man, they got a whole it's a cat. As a matter of fact, it's a cat down south. He calls himself the first gay high priest of the Kemetic order or something crazy.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was crazy. I try to find one of his videos, man. When y'all see this, y'all gonna fall out laughing.
You know what I mean? I think I did see that shit because I think somebody was trying to get Sonetta to get that nigga on his channel.
Sonetta and them quiet, Jabari and them quiet. Jabari and them know about this dude. They know about him. Shit, he been around a minute. You know what I mean? But he openly professes that he's openly gay, and that he's basically the only real high priest after that ancient order is him.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? That hey man, it sound crazy as much. They real quiet about him though.
Yeah, niggas.
Real quiet. Like don't know Shaka. Look, Shaka Upmost don't even talk about him.
Supposedly when the women died in Egypt, like the younger women or whatever, they would let them like sit for like 2 or 3 days before they took them to the embalmers. So the embalmers then try to have sex with them and shit.
That shit crazy.
You know that whole story with Isis putting Osiris together, the body parts and shit like that, and then she made the phallus out of clay, and she started sucking on it and brought him back to life. That's necrophilia. That whole thing is necrophilia.
Necrophilia, yeah.
You know what? No, that's something you can hold them on, hold them accountable to, because you're right. Because I remember that story. You know what I mean? You know, they had to cut his body up, whatever, put him back together, and she rested on his cock to goddamn rejuvenate or whatever. So how y'all gonna talk about the immaculate conception with Jesus Christ when y'all motherfuckers is putting back together dead people to goddamn produce Horus or some shit? Horus was born out of necrophilium or whatever you call that shit. Necromancy.
Yeah, she found every piece of his thing except his member.
Right.
And got it on. And that's how she ended up getting pregnant or some crazy madness like that.
Yeah, so I'm like, ain't nobody goddamn could say shit about the Bible. Them Kemetic niggas can't say shit about the Bible. And see, that's another thing. Like, these niggas don't know how to be tactical with their shit, man. These niggas ain't strategists, because if you holding me accountable of being a copycat out of Kemet, being a Hebrew or being a Christian, and we copied the literature, that's even more fuel to roast you niggas. Because now, if we copied this shit and it's some bullshit, you got to owe up to the bullshit now. Because it's your fault while we in this this situation we in.
What you say is your bullshit I copied, nigga. You know what I mean?
Yo, they said that Cleopatra would like, I think it was Cleopatra. She would have a fox, and they would fill the fox up with the fox was dead, and they would cut it open. They fill it up with bees, and she would put it on her genitals and shit like that as a vibrator.
Man, that shit sound crazy.
Yeah, bro.
What matter of wickedness is going on, man?
Egypt, that's what I said. Owaspi said Egypt was doing shit that Owaspi says. The angels in the Owaspi said, listen,
I'll pull up
when
the
they said,
where is this right here? Because I'm right by it. Go ahead.
It's in the book of Torah. Said it wasn't lawful for them to mention. It meant that they said the people of the world knew the chief part, that the Egyptians for hundreds of years they excelled in the magic, the rites, and that they knew about the stars and the sun and all that shit. But the things that followed, they said that it wasn't lawful to mention. Ever since I read that shit, A few years back, I'm like, it had to have been like bestiality and some other shit. Like bestiality is one of the main ones. Like, and if you think about it, right, Egyptians are Hamites, most of them at least. Ham. Now I'm be careful when I say this, but ham means to be hot, right? Like hot or warm.
But you remember we spoke about this. Cause remember I told you, I said, because you remember they always say the Hamites broke the sin the most. Because I said being warm blooded, when you dealing with sex, when you warm is when you get the urge to have sex, not when you cold. So when you in a hot ass life, like I'm a West Indian from the Caribbean. So when you in the Caribbean, niggas is fucking left and right out there because it's hot. Shorty
Exactly.
got their goddamn ass out and chose out, nigga, you hot all the time. You know, when springtime and summertime come around out here, what's that? It's fucking season, nigga. It's hot. The girls out there, I'm trying to give me some pussy, blah, blah. But when it gets cold, it ain't like, you still get the pussy, whatever, but it ain't like how it is in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine year round it's hot. You know what I mean? Women with they shapes up, because when it's cold, you cover up. You can't see no ass and tits in the cold.
Yeah, so it said the Hamitic Ions were warm-blooded. You know, they became extinct by amalgamation. Same ones over there in India. They became extinct through amalgamation. And you see the crazy ass like sex temples and shit like that over India. So you could already see that. India also has a tropical climate.
Yeah, exactly.
So that lets you know, you know what I'm saying? A lot of heat.
Techniques and shit.
Yeah, a lot of heat raises sex drive. And what was Ham's worst sin? His sin dealt with voyeurism. Watching Noah, whatever it was, whatever happened between Noah, his wife, and it had this, his sin was sexual. It was a sin of perversion.
Check this. I'm gonna read like the verse from Egypt in the story of Thutmose when the niggas started wilding. So I'm gonna go up a verse or two. This is the Book of Wars Against Jehovah, chapter 51, verse 8. It states, "Now regarding the false gods, Osiris and his confederates, they never tried to reincarnate the spirit of Thutmose. But because of the virtue and wisdom of Thutmose, they used him for the benefits of Osiris' heavenly kingdom, and to establish Osiris everlastingly on the earth as the all highest God, the most high." Like these things we talking, right? So look at verse 9. "As to the kingdoms of the land of Egypt, which succeeded Thutmose, the inhabitants of the earth already knew the chief part. For hundreds and hundreds of years, the Egyptians were the most learned people in the world, and especially in knowledge of the stars, sun, and moon, and in adeptism and miracles." So they giving the Egyptian credit. They ain't shitting on Egypt. But look what it says in verse 10. "But woe came unto them. The land became flooded with hundreds of millions of Jujas. And as to the people of Egypt, the chief desire was to be able to return in spirit after death and dwell with mortals." Don't that sound like Christians? Don't that sound like Israelites? "And the things which followed are not even lawful to mention." What the hell was going on for this shit being not lawful to mention? Verse 11. "Suffice is it to say, these spirits lost all sight of any higher heavens than to dwell on the earth. They knew no other, and they watched for the times when children were born and obsessed them, driving away the natural spirit and growing up in the new body of the newborn, calling themselves reincarnated. And these judges professed when they previously lived on earth, they were great kings and queens." Now you know where this shit comes from for niggas who talk about that reincarnation shit. Let me get verse 12 real quick. We cooking. Verse 12. "And they taught as their master Osiris the False did," which is that there were no higher heavens than here on earth. Don't the Christians and the Israelites believe that heaven is coming on earth? "And that man must be reincarnated over and over until the flesh become immortal. Not all of these spirits drove away the natural spirit, but many merely engrafted themselves on the same body, and which such peoples lived, these spirits lived with them and dwelt with them day and night, not knowing more than their mortal companion. And when such a person died, behold, the Druja went and engrafted itself on another child and lived and dwelt with it in the same way, and thus continuing generation after generation. And because of these indulgence, many of the spirits came in Sargos. Now they're showing themselves in the families of the Egyptians. Look what they're doing. Eating and drinking with them corporally. Physically appearing to these niggas. Eating. Can you imagine eating and drinking with some niggas of the dead? Big homie done past 12 years, you having this. And even doing things of which no man may speak, by which dire disease seized upon the flesh. So with that alone, you already know what they're talking about. Of mortals. And their blood and their flesh became inhabited with vermin. The people became idlers and vagrants. The land were not tilled, and the place of learning became desert. But look what this shit just said, family. It said the goddamn angels, the ancestors, manifested physically, eating and drinking. I know we was clouding Jesus that one time when he came back from the spirit of the dead and he ate some fish, but now this shit making a little more reference. It's bringing some validity to that shit now.
And you know what's funny? You got that Law of One material where they say I am Ra and shit. You know what I'm talking about? The raw material?
Yeah, the raw material. Where they mentioned
yeah, they
material.
said they went to Egypt, those entities, and they were unsuccessful. And you look at the time frame of when they said they went to Egypt, and the material, I forget what year, but I lined it up with the Owaspi. Those entities that promote that raw material, they came during the time of Osiris, the Ethereum.
But the shit that got me right here is this part, man. When it said, hold up, it says right here, even doing things which no man may speak, by which dire disease upon the flesh of mortals. Nigga, they talking about sex, my nigga.
Yeah, they were having sex with the animals and having sex with their bodies and shit.
But these are the angels, though. These the spirits of the dead doing this shit with the motherfucking humans.
Drujas,
What kind of shit is that?
They were off their rockers and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
see, the beautiful thing about the Owaspi, it's exposing that these things happen, but it ain't saying God commanded niggas to go do these things like in the Bible. This is all under the watch of Osiris. It's because Osiris didn't allow his host to ascend to the Etherian realm that they had to reverberate backwards to the lower realm, to the earth, and end up doing this shit like this because they want to block themselves away from Creator. And look at the fucking fuckery that came with it. These niggas, these angels that got to eat and drink with mortals, that's having intercourse with mortals, these niggas supposed to be rising in the grace of that ether. But being that Osiris want to proclaim Creator, look what he produced. This is under his watch. That's why I'm glad we free from these motherfucking false gods. I know that, nigga.
I don't even think Osiris and them were even on that shit. I think that was because you know the false gods, they had an issue with Drujas and shit in their kingdoms. But right. I don't even think they had Drujas in their kingdoms and shit like that. So, you know, like the false god, like Satan don't even promote eating meat.
That's the crazy shit. When Satan came to niggas like, yo, man, you got to tell these niggas to stop. Even Satan was telling niggas to stop eating meat in the OS because their vibrational frequency was dropping to animalistic behavior.
Because he needed them to be, he needed them to be smart. He didn't need them to be like animalistic. All that organized crime shit, you got to be smart to do all that. You know what I mean? That's why all them false gods and shit like that, they weren't grade one. They were at least expecting resurrection. Yeah, they were all high-ranking angels.
Archangels and shit. When Anu and them boys left, even when Luamong and them boys left, them niggas was grades was up in the high in the 80s, damn in the 90s. You know, you get you some false gods with grades above 80, nigga, you got a problem.
And I think Owamian was the one that told me, I think Anu Hasa is now on his own accord. I think in the Owaspi, he was in Etheria at one point. I think they took him to Etheria. Am I mistaken?
Matter of fact, shit, even the angels, even the people who sunk in the continent of Pan was taken to Etheria.
Yeah, they can. You can go to higher heavens if
under guard. Yeah, under guard, under the skillful mastery of these Etherians who know what they doing and shit. But ain't no atmospherian taking niggas up there.
No, because by natural law you can't indwell in those regions. They got to put like a spell or some shit on you to where you can like. You know,
because you remember they had like tubes, they had atmospheric tubes, so you know, that time of the sinking of the continent of Pan showed how advanced these beings' technology is to take the spirits and you know what I mean, cloak them to a point where the extremity of the etheric pressure don't affect them. They probably ain't even know what the fuck was going on. They mind going. They can't even enjoy what they seeing. All they seeing is probably gamma rays and light, blinded. They just in a state of frenzy and chaos and shit.
Yeah, false gods were all like high grades and their peoples and shit like that. The Druges, you can look at them as like undesirables. The Druges are just undesirables all the way around. Nobody want to deal with the Druges. You look at the Triunes, the reason they became Triunes and Vigilantes and shit like that is because they didn't want to go to hell, to the hells and free the inhabitants of their hell, shit like that.
Exactly.
That's what people got to understand is there's all kind of vocations, there's all kind of labors in heaven, but you have labors that are pleasant, and then you have labors that are unpleasant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some people, like people that go to war and shit like that, your labor is going to be unpleasant. You're going to have to go down and try to reform the Druges and shit like that. You know what I mean? That's like dealing with like the homeless and shit. A bunch of niggas that stink like piss and shit and musty and shit like that. That's the type of spirits you're going to have to deal with. That's going to be your labor, but your labor ain't going to be, you know.
Exactly. That's like coming from a supervisor. That's like going from a supervisor position in the office in the AC, and now you got to go clean toilets and shit.
Yeah, bro. So, and you do that to yourself. So it's like, but yeah, these guys and shit like that, they were high ranking and shit like that. The only thing is that they still fell subject to self. A lot of these cats didn't understand Jehovah completely, even though they were of a high grade. Why do you think a lot of them like Anu and them? They were like, oh, the all highest, he's not a person, he's a boy. You would think being dead for that long, but not. You know what I mean? Not everybody don't get it.
And he been witness to the rites and ceremonies of the other Etherians and seen the light, you know what I mean? So it's like, damn, to go through all that and still deny, like you got to be one stubborn ass nigga, like shit.
And supposedly the Etherians don't dress like the Atmospherians. The Atmospherians, I think Malachi brought this out one time, that the Atmospherians are all decked out with jewels and crowns and gold and silver and shit like that. You know what the Etherians wear? White cloth.
That was when in the Book of Su, when the Etherians came down to basically, you know, free up the slaves of the false gods or whatever. But you know, like you said, these niggas was decked out in jewelry. You know what I mean? These niggas came in white. But yeah. It's ill, man. It's ill the strategies that is used to lift man up. So in this one, like, all right, nigga, we ain't gonna come decked out. We gonna come in plain white. We gonna show these niggas the powers of soul in plain clothes, while these niggas is too focused on the material jewelry and flossing and, you know what I mean? This niggas flossing in the spirit world, decked out jewelry, looking sharp like niggas right here on earth. But that don't mean they spiritual in that sense.
Well, that's where the Kemet should get it from. You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine Osiris and them probably dressed like the pharaohs and shit of Egypt probably got it from Osiris and them.
Yeah. They wearing the crown of Osiris. Them kings was wearing them crowns. The upper north crown.
And Baal wore the same crown, showing his allegiance to Osiris, because Osiris used to be over Baal and Astaroth.
Exactly.
You know, they were in allegiance with him.
And they got your Canaanite connection right there with Baal and Osiris.
Yeah, that's why you start seeing Canaanite gods coming to Egypt, being synchronized with Egyptian gods or what have you, because they were all in alignment with Osiris. I think Osiris fell during the first intermediate period.
Yeah, that's when Osiris' reign was only 600 years. He only reigned 600 years, and he was out of here.
Yeah, so I think his kingdom began to fall during the first intermediate period, and that's when Egypt.
Because by the time the new kingdom came, that's when Baal was in power.
Yeah, that's where you start having Baal was under the guise of Amun-Ra.
Because Osiris was deified during the Old and the Middle Kingdom. Then after the Middle Kingdom, Amun-Ra became the face.
How you know this too? You know Osiris was kicked out by Nugon or Amos the First, because pyramid building stopped for the most part after. Yep. Yeah, and pyramid building was associated with the worship of Osiris.
Exactly. And the last pyramid was with Amenet. Actually, the last pyramid had been under Amenet. It may have been under Moses. Amenet the fourth, I think. Definitely Amenet the third. But I think even Amenet the fourth had some projects and working.
They were still building pyramids after most of the first, but for the most part, they stopped. I think it was weighing down. Like they all didn't just stop after most of the first. Because I had a catcher to argue with me about that. He's like, "Oh, well, your source says for the most part." You said they stopped building pyramids. I said for the most part, he was the end of the pyramidal age because you started seeing pyramids. Everybody ain't just going to outright stop. Everybody got to get the message. Egypt was vast, so for the most part, it stopped, and then it just weighing down. After most of the first. They weren't being buried in the pyramids anymore. They were being buried in the valleys of kings.
Yeah, because when you look at the reign of the new kings of the new kingdom, the glory of the new kingdom is not pyramid based.
It's not. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? The glory of the old kingdom is pyramid based. The glory of the middle kingdom is barely pyramid based, but mainly the old kingdom is pyramid. But when you get to the new kingdom, niggas ain't talking about no pyramids. Niggas talking about the temples, you know what I mean, and shit like that. But it ain't no and it is fly. I'm like, don't get me wrong, like. Living in the new kingdom may have been some fly shit because the structure and the architect is off the chain. I ain't gonna hold the niggas for that.
Yeah, they will, you know. Shit's wild though, bro. You know, like when you piece it all together and shit like that, it becomes very is very it can be intense. But just as wrong some other shit, most definitely. Like
that's true because even when Osiris fell. You still had his sub gods under him that started reigning in the regions and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what brought about that first intermediate period where you had the wars. He had one angel. What was his name? Theo Judas.
Yeah, they got the history of him somewhere. Ain't he one of the
He's one of the Theo Judas. That's the angel, but one of the governors had a name.
Yeah, to that. Yeah. I remember we connected that years ago back in the day and shit.
Yeah, so that was them. And then, yeah, most of the first banished. It says Nugon banished. And for anybody that doesn't know what Nugon means, Nugon is like, I would assume, and Nuba, and Gan and Waspi is man. So it lets you know that most of the first was a Nubian man.
Exactly. Yep. Nubian man. That's
man of Nuba.
Yeah, who brought that out on that Owaski site and shit? Yeah, when I first seen that, I was like, yo, hey, Nubian man, Nubian man. That's crazy. But they say Amos came from that region anyway.
Yeah, he was a Nubian, and they didn't like the fact that Asiatics were in power. You know what I mean? That's why Moses couldn't reign or whatever. All the governors and shit had a problem. The native Egyptians that were in power didn't like the fact that Moses. That's why his whole reign was like all fucked up. You know what I mean? So it's like he couldn't rule because of them. You know what I mean? They had a court, like they were able to say they were all under Amenemhotep the third, but they were able. There was like Congress. That's how it seemed to me. It was Amenemhotep the third's court, but they were able to like argue against the pharaoh and shit. If they didn't like certain things, they had a voice. So, in the second intermediate period, that never existed. That shit ran concurrent with the end of the Middle Kingdom period.
Right.
That was just the other governors and shit just acting a fool, doing their own thing.
Right. Because, they try to stop it and start the intermediate periods like it's a separate, like it's start and finish when it's like still within that. Like the first intermediate period was still within the old kingdom. You know what I mean? And vice versa with the second intermediate period.
And you got to know that when you want to link Moses to Amenemhotep III and say that his stepdad is Amenemhotep III, because when you try to say that the pharaoh is Moses the first, people going to bring up that gap. People that know their history, they're going to bring up that gap. Exactly. So that's what I told them. I said that gap didn't exist. It would have ran concurrent, but the records are all messed up.
Exactly. So because if instead of putting because they put the ending of the Middle Kingdom like around the 17th century BC, but if they place that from 15 going back in, then because I remember one time when I was doing the knowledge, I was like, yo, if I could find one shred of evidence showing the intermediate period and something going concurrent within the reign of Amenemhotep the third or Amenemhotep the fourth, with the reference and concurrence to the second intermediate period, that would have been game over because we would have showed, right, look, there is the proof that these periods was running concurrent with each other.
Yeah, man. But it was a good dialogue, bro. My phone's dying, so I'm about to get off. But that was a really good build. I appreciate you having me on.
Always, man. You got to come in here and do your presentation one of these days when we get right. You feel me?
Yeah, we're gonna go in. I don't know if I'm gonna do I think we're just going to shoot the shit. I was gonna do that whole thing with the anthropology. That's a lot of information to look into. So I'm just it's an inspiration thing with me, bro. I like being more or less. I like being the guy in the back. I don't really,
Yeah, I know, but nigga, you gotta bring that light because I know what you got up under there, man. And you know what I mean? You'll kill niggas in these debate forums. You kill niggas in the presentation forums. You know what I'm saying? So I just want people to see that light. But we're gonna get it popping though.
Yeah, I smashed Divine one time when I hit him with that cenotaph information. He never responded to that.
You
Tried
hit him with what now?
the cenotaph when I brought up on Moses the First, when I said the Owaspi said he was the end of the pyramid age, and that his pyramid was built as a cenotaph, meaning that it was built as like a monument. It wasn't built as like a burial chamber or what have you. So I was asking him. I said, "How did John Barlow Newbro know that? If it tells you in the Owaspi before they discovered the cenotaph?" And he never said nothing. He was like, "Oh, there was information about Moses the First that John Barlow Newbro could." I said, "Yeah, I know that, but as far as the pyramid building, modern day people didn't know that until Flinders Petrie found the cenotaph."
Yeah, exactly. So we can't play them games. It's like, nigga, the evidence said this shit was discovered in 1948, nigga. And this nigga was talking this shit in 1881. So, you know what I mean?
Yep, Ron. So that cat, he don't want it, bro. I'm really waiting on him to say something greasy out of his mouth about the Owaspi. If he says something greasy out of his mouth about the Owaspi, I'm gonna get on his ass. I'm just waiting for Ron to say something. Waiting for Divine to talk greasy.
First conversation. I remember that first conversation when the nigga was trying to say the book was divinely inspired and shit.
Oh yeah, we had that conversation, but it was all, it was.
Yeah. So
even he said, if anybody could make him believe in the Owaspi, it was me.
See what I'm saying?
Remember when he said that shit? He's like, if anybody can make me believe in the Owaspi, it'd be you. So, because I don't play, bro, and that's not to big myself up and shit like that, but I know what I got, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm dealing with these cats in the Bible, they don't know about the politics and the historical composition. I can bring all those things up. I can bring up the contradictions and the scribal guilds and shit like that. So I'll take Jeremiah 8 to the next level. They don't know. That's why I brought the shit up. You know what I'm saying? That's why today's your live stream was probably one of the most interesting live streams you had, bro. Straight up.
Maybe that's why we got to have them more concurrent, because these are the conversations we used to do in the thread nail on Facebook. You feel me?
Yeah, real shit.
This shit, what we talking here is a Facebook thread nail from 10 years ago type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've been on this. But all right, bro, man, you have yourself a good night. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, peace, no doubt, King. Bless up, bless up. Yes, family, you see how we get it in on these parts. You know what I mean? It's a blood clot vibes. Create a gang shit. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the gods and Arabian goddesses. You know how we do. It's the vibes. Shout out Malachi Maccabee for coming through. My nigga Lucy, you know how we do. We'll deal with the knowledge on all levels. You know what I'm saying? We just vibing out, family. Shout out to the righteous gods and goddesses. It's a blood clot vibes. It's a vibes. Always, you know how we do. Just vibing out. Stick around for a second, we just vibing out. You know how we do. Hit him with that spiraling vortex. We hit him with that spiraling vortex. We talked to him some shit today, boy. I'll tell you that. Sacrificing to these gods, boy. Obedience to a false god is a love. Creator is undefeated. You best believe it. Good thing we on the creative side, yo. If you wasn't let me tell you something. Tell y'all niggas something. Look what we just read about how these niggas was sacrificing their firstborns and first daughters to their God based off an oath and a vow these niggas made. These niggas today who follow this biblical God is under the same vow and same oath. These Israelites running around clamoring this God, these niggas better be happy that this God is not in response and answering these niggas like how he did in the ancient times, I mean. If these niggas have to answer to their God today, these niggas will have to sacrifice their firstborn. You really want to be an Israelite? That should be the next live. You really want to be an Israelite with this shit hanging over your head? A God that requires a burnt offering? We read to you what a burnt offering is, how the burnt offering is prepared. You prepared to do that to your firstborn? This is the God you follow, Israel. This is the biblical God that you follow that require a burnt offering and a burnt sacrifice. Even a lot of people say Jesus was the sacrifice on the cross. Don't they say that Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice? Jesus was the ultimate burnt sacrifice. The only thing, his own was a sin offering. He was offering up the sins and bearing the sins of the people, right? And look at that. By the time Yahshua is offered up as an offering to God, it's not even under the Leviticus priesthood. Who these niggas offering up the offering? The Leviticus priesthood was established in the wilderness. We talking after captivity, after 4th century BC. Jesus is on the cross as a sacrifice, a sin offering. Whew. Luckily, it wasn't under the Leviticus offering of a sin offering, because he probably would have had to chop off his head. Didn't they chop off John the Baptist's head? Oh, hold up. Where Melly at? Damn. Malachi, Lucy. Didn't they cut off John the Baptist's head? Where that verse where they cut off John the Baptist's head? Was that an offering? Because all these offerings, you got to cut the goddamn head off. Whether if it's a peace offering, a head got to get cut. Whether if it's a burnt offering, a head got to get cut. And I think even a peace offering, a head got to get cut. What verse is that when the nigga head got cut off? See, when you free, you can talk reckless, man. Selah Shalom curses. Nigga, you require, your God require you to chop heads of a goat and human heads. Huh? I'm just saying, King Horeb. Yeah, that may have been the king, but it's a verse, matter of fact. Let me look it up. Quick, fast. Niggas cutting off goat heads. I mean, John the Baptist's head got cut off. John the Baptist beheaded. King Herod heard about this, for Jesus' name had become well known. Some were saying John the Baptist has been raised from the dead, and that is why miracles, basically miracle powers, are at work in him. Others said he is Elijah, and still others claim he is a prophet, like one of the prophets of long ago. But when Herod heard this, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has been raised from the dead. For Herod himself had given orders to have John arrested, and he had him bound and put in prison. He did this because of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, whom he married. For John had been saying to Herod, it is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. So Herodias nursed a grudge against John, and wanted to kill him, but she was not able to because Herod feared John and protected him, knowing him to be a righteous and holy man. When Herod heard John, he was greatly puzzled, yet he liked to listen to him. But yeah, I guess that's some reference to goddamn John got beheaded. But it's crazy how John got beheaded when a lot of these sacrifices is dealing with cutting off a head. This is the craziest shit ever, yo. This is the craziest shit, man. Y'all niggas is following a God that requires you to cut off an animal head. And y'all think this is the Most High. And y'all niggas is mad at the Awaspi. You think the Awaspi is witchcraft? Nigga, your Bible is full of witchcraft. Your Bible got you cutting off a bullock. You know what a bullock look like? Just keep in mind, he said, kill the bullock. And then take the bucket of blood and sprinkle it on the altar. Y'all niggas want to talk about witchcraft? You niggas want to say Owaspi is witchcraft and you niggas is sprinkling blood? I wish a nigga would. This is a bullock. Let me show you what I picture how a bullock look like. No. See if I can pull up a picture. Let's just see. That ain't what I'm looking for. Let me show you a picture of what a bullock is, man. This is the shit niggas was killing in the land in order to create a burnt offering. Hold up. There we go. All right. Now, let me show you how diabolical this shit is. Watch this. Let's go to Leviticus. Now, watch this. Let me take the strong as well. Now, watch this, right? Now, watch this. You see in Leviticus, right? This part when it says, he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. He shall kill the bullock, right? And then what it says, the priest shall what? Bring the blood. So this is what a bullock looks like. This is a bullock. This is what they got to kill before the Lord. This is a bullock. What did the verse say? And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord. That's the bullock. But it's a verse. Ooh. What's that verse in Isaiah talking about killing the ox is like killing the human or some shit like that? Damn, I forgot how that verse go. That should come on. Isaiah 66:33. Isaiah 66:33. Watch this. Watch this, yo. No, I'm surgical with this bitch, Jake. What did I say? 66? What did I say again? 66:3. All right. Watch this. What did that say? He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. Look at that. What does an ox look like, I wonder? Let's see. Bring this over. Let's bring the ox and the bullocks together and see what we are getting. It's an ox, right? I told you I'm surgical with this bitch, Jake. This is an ox, and this is a bullock. Looks very similar, right? This is a bullock. This is an ox. What did Leviticus say? He shall kill the bullock before the Lord. What did Isaiah say? He that kill an ox is as if he what? Slew a man. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. This is the ox. So if you slew an ox, it's just like you slaying a man. But Leviticus is saying, you shall kill the bullock before the Lord. And this is the bullock. Which one is it? Because if I kill the bullock, it's the equivalent of like killing the ox. It's like slewing a man. See that? Easy work. The bullock and the ox. Look at that. He shall kill the bullock before the Lord. So this is what you niggas is killing before the Lord. The bullock. Matter of fact, I wonder what land bullocks are native to. If they even native to the Israel. Because this is in the land of Canaan, ain't it? Yeah, bullock. Yo, that's crazy right there, though, yo. You see how easy it is to just beat up them buck there? Smash up them bucks up? Look, bullock, a young bull. Bullock, a young bull. All right, no more to be said. It's a young bull. Ox. That's crazy. An ox. Look what it say. Ox. Known as what? Bullock. Wow. So now we have a contradiction. We have an ox, also known as a bullock. So in Leviticus, the Lord is telling you to kill the bullock. And in Isaiah, he says, he that kills a bullock, an ox, a young goat, a young bull, is as if he slew a man. Bad job. Got him. Which one is it? Is you going to kill the bullock before the Lord? Or is killing the bullock the equivalent of slaying a man? It's a blood clot vibes. Hold on, family. It's a blood clot vibes. family. So we just showing you, even with that, you got a God that requires you to kill a bullock, a young bull, a ox, cut his head off. And look what it says. The head. Now look, let's look at the bullock once again. Let's take one more look of a bullock, and keep in mind they had to cut the head off of this thing. Now look, this is the bullock again, right? Now keep in mind they had to cut the head off of this animal, off of this ox. See that? Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look how, yo, come on now. Look at this. Look at this. Your Lord said, look. Right here. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall lay the parts, the head. Look how big this motherfucking bullock head is, bro. Look at how big that motherfucking head is. You got to first kill that. Then you got to take the time to cut its head off. This is the bullock. This is the bullock. Look how huge that. That's just one. That's just one out of hundreds. Out of hundreds, like this picture right here, showing groups of them. Look at that. Chopped off goat heads. Chopped off bull heads. This is what the one who created the sun, moon, and stars in the sky is now requiring you to cut off goat heads, bull heads. Now just imagine they in a line ready to cut off all these bull heads to sacrifice to their God. This is like Judges. You remember when Israel was getting their ass whipped by the Benjamites, and it says Israel came before the Lord weeping, and they did burnt offerings and sacrifices to the Lord all night, all evening. This is the line of bulls them niggas probably had to chop off to sacrifice to their God. Come on, man. And the priest, Aaron's son, shall lay the parts, the head, and the fat in order. So, you know, we don't spoke enough about the dark side of the night. We don't spoke enough about that tonight. I'm going to go ahead and land it out, family. We had an excellent build tonight. It was just a vibe. Brought the gods on. Lucy Malachi Maccabee had a great vibe with the brother. And we're going to go ahead and sign out on this thing, family. I got some editing to do. I got a finale to the edit. Film director, script writer. We do it all over here. Creator Gang is independent. Creator is undefeated. It's a blood clot vibes. Your boy Selah Shalom chiming out. Peace, love, and light. Until next time, family. We out of here. Like last year. It's a vibe.